Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And welcome to the show where we wax poetic about the movies we see on a month-to-month basis. It's time to crack open our
Movie
movie
Memoirs!
memoirs. Ah, indeed, Dragon, because I'm sorry, the deeper we get into movie memoirs in 2020, the more I just feel like a conspiracy theory shock jock. Because, man, the the only reason why I didn't outright cancel movie memoirs for this month, Dragon, is because of Palm Springs. Like that, I'm not even gonna beat around the bush about how much I like Palm Springs. Like, I'm just gonna get it out of the way right now. Palm Springs, best movie of 2020, and the fucking joke of the year that has been 2020. Palm Springs, beacon of light, beacon of hope. Love it. We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it soon. Dragon, if it weren't for Palm Springs, I don't know. But I'm at a loss, man. And with all the developments going on, Dragon, I honestly don't know what we're gonna do in August, buddy. I really don't. It's
well, there's going to be plenty
grim
of stuff coming in August. Don't worry, though. We're actually covered for August.
Okay. Well, how's your month been, Dragon?
Considering how much ground we covered this month, in regards to Christmas in July, so there's some Christmas stuff I did indulge in. There was, some Looney Tunes stuff for our Looney Tunes debates. I think I covered a lot of ground, found some stuff, got around to some patriotic stuff as well for the patriotic month, of course. That is July. So yeah, July was. I wish I could have gotten certain things in, but we'll see how it goes. Overall, July was okay.
I have a bone to pick with Apple, buddy.
Oh, as do I, sir. I always have a bone to pick with Apple. They know
Yeah,
it. I've written them several. I've written them several angry letters. No, I'm not kidding. I wish I could have though, but no.
All I can say is that, folks, I tried to sign up for Apple TV or whatever, and let's just say if you don't have an Apple device, it's hard to get the Apple TV to work on an Apple device, and that just really irritates me. Anyways,
I just have to say we're kind of up in arms about the kind of how the majority of the streaming services have been operating of late. So
Yeah. All right. So, Dragon, with that in mind, let's get to the news. There it is.
Yes. Let's talk about Huey Lewis. Okay, where do we start now?
Oh, God. Okay, so Dragon, with this COVID thing going on.
I should make a note here before we go further. We're going to start with all
dear.
the bad stuff, and basically we're going to perk ourselves up as we go along. So let's bear that in
All
mind,
right.
folks. We're gonna go into the open wound that is July, but then we're going to sew it up as we kind of bring a needle of hope into things.
Okay, so Dragon, the U.S. not doing too good in terms of the COVID, man. And if COVID was a sport, we'd be in last.
Yeah. I mean, the good news is half the
And I'm
stuff
living
I watch.
I'm living on the worst team of the losing league, Dragon.
Well, the only bright spot I have is half the stuff I watch on a week-to-week basis takes place in Vancouver, Canada, and that's where they shoot it. And they're slowly but surely getting back into the swing of things. So hey, at least some stuff will be coming back. So there's that.
So of course, one of the big
not great for us though.
One of the big things that has kind of been a question mark over the summer movie season of 2020, one of the big rays of hope, man, in July, all the movie theaters are going to reopen, and we're going to reopen the doors to Tenet. Dragon, it seems like the movie theaters might reopen their doors to Tenet, and it seems like we might be left out in the cold. At least that's the rumor that's going around. For Tenet and maybe other mainstream movies.
It's going to be such a bummer, really. That's the thing. It's just going to get to the point where it's going to be so annoying knowing that some of these really coveted movies of 2020 are going to be coming out, but not for a long while. I mean, I guess at some point they'd have to come out on home videos. That's probably the only way we're going to be able to get them, right? In theory.
In theory, yeah, which is a big bummer for Tenet, of course.
I know for Tenet, that's the thing. Nolan too. Nolan has been he's been planting his feet firmly in the ground, saying, he says, "Hey, Mr. Nolan, you want to do the whole home video release, kind of charge an obscene amount, but still people can watch it?" No, theaters. But I hear that, but people in America, they kind of want to see it. No theaters. Like, okay, I see you debating. This man is like debating William F. Buckley. So let's just move on there. Nolan, he's planted firmly on this one. He ain't. He wants people to see the celluloid, kids. He wants people to see that glorious, glorious film grain.
All right. Dragon, I'm just, I'll wait as long as I have to, whatever. Spoilers, man.
I know that's what I'm saying. It's gonna be really annoying because we're on our side of things. We're gonna have to be ducking and covering for certain things,
Yeah.
like spoilers. Again, if God forbid Black Widow has to go through some, I'm gonna be chewing my own arm off. Like, oh, I want to
Word
see.
on the street is that Black Widow is in talks to do the same thing that Mulan is doing.
Well,
That's
I mean,
the word on the street. That's the
put a
rumor
pin in
right
that because
now.
we're about to dive into that. So
Okay.
yeah, but that's a thing. But that overall, yeah, I mean, Tenet was the beacon of hope, and it kept getting pushed back, and that's why we haven't covered the whole theater situation until now, because August was initially supposed to be the big moment of truth, and yet again got moved to, last time I checked, to Labor Day, which has then basically been overshadowed by the whole, yeah, we're probably going to go overseas and then just kind of cut our losses, which is a real bummer. And it's looking good. Looks like we're going to be hoping next year things are going to get back in the swing of things, folks. But it's an unknown entity at the moment. It's scary.
All right. So you want to transition into Disney Plus then?
Yes, but again, where all this kind of stems from, though, I guess a certain deal that was struck.
Oh, right. So, all right. So here's the deal, folks. Universal has teamed up with AMC Theaters. Dragon, do you realize the irony in this? Do you
Yes, they
realize
were
the
kind of
irony in this?
Yes, they were warring with each other. Now they've joined
I love
forces.
it.
Yeah,
I love it. It's so fucking juicy. They're just like, you know what? Let's take down the movie theater industry together.
yeah. Have you? Let me
Woo!
ask you this random question for my comparison here. Are you up to date on the Blockbuster podcast yet?
Oh no, I'm not actually.
Okay, I'm not going to do the comparison then. The point being, though, yeah, it's regardless. Yeah, it is quite ironic as AMC teaming up
Dragon,
with
you fill in the
Universal.
details. I need to grab something really quick. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Okay. So yes, folks. Essentially, the way it's going down here, Universal, basically they've been really kind of riding high on the home release thing since Trolls 2 World Tour, that whole thing, which is basically, I think technically it's like the biggest gruesome movie of this year because of the terrible state we're all in right now with the theatrical releases. So point being. Trolls 2 was doing such good numbers, it really worried AMC, saying, okay, if Universal, toes the line, if they do this, if they do any more of this, we ain't gonna have. And of course, realizing, oh God, Universal's, they might be doing a lot of good business here, and right now we're kind of clamoring to keep the lights on, so we gotta join forces here. And essentially, the long and short of it, folks. Well, here's the important details: is that traditionally, the difference from traditionally the release versus the home video release of movies, the way it went was like at the bare minimum 3 months would go by, as in movie comes out 3 months later, it's available digitally, then eventually it'll be available on home video, at least roughly 3 months, sometimes like 3 to 6 months. I think at the minimum it's been going from 4 to 3 months. So that's how it was. With this new deal that's been struck, so any Universal movies that are coming out, apparently they'll be in theaters for 17 days. That's roughly 2.5 weeks. And then they'll be released digitally, as in, well, then they'll be released digitally. Now, I don't know if that means they're going to be doing like the home theater thing, where basically it's going to be like $20 for rental or not. I assume that's probably going to be the case, and eventually be available for the physical release, which basically is just the general home video thing. So basically, that means movies that are made, with big kind of big budget, will have 17 days to recoup their money, which is kind of crazy.
All right, I'm back. Sorry.
Yeah. Talking about the whole 17-day thing, where now none of the theaters are operating with 17 days, and basically there's a lot of fear going through the industry right now that 17 days, especially on like the bigger a bigger studio like Disney, like they're afraid, like, oh God, our movies once released theatrically, of course, we can keep in theaters a lot longer than 17 days, because our movies, people are going to want to see them and rewatch them. We can stay in these past 17 days, so that cuts in on our profits. Essentially, that's kind of what all the other studios are fearing, and that's kind of what they're
I mean, all the other studios don't have to necessarily do the 17 days thing. Like I said, if Universal and AMC want to just sync their theatrical ship together, that's on them as far as I'm concerned.
Right. I mean, I really my real question on all this is like, how does all of this affect the physical release? Because essentially, that's kind of the other part of the equation here. If people just don't
That's a
want to
good
bother with,
question.
if people don't want to bother with any of this, if you have like the older folks, like, well, I don't want to like the people who are just really set in their ways, and especially the old folks, you're trying to like show them any movies, they're going to be very much like, I'm not paying like $20 to $30 to rent something.
Mm-hmm.
When eventually it's going to come to DVD or so. And so that's the thing. Like I fear like it's going to make the physical release like go even longer because they're not specifying if the digital is like the $20 rental or like digital followed by physical release like a week or so later. You know,
I mean, I'm thinking in a case of something like Mulan or Trolls 2 or something like that. I'm thinking eventually the price will go down to $10 and then to $6.99, and it'll gradually decrease over time.
Which is I don't like that person. I don't like the whole idea that again it's just going to be like this waiting game that's going to be made even more tantalizing and longer. Oh, guys, you want to wait to own it, and then of course it's going to then you're going to have to like pick your time so specifically. Just when to strike for a rental if you really can't wait.
I'd like to remind you that I am the proud owner of a digital copy of Scoob.
Yep. And you see what I mean? There's going to be a bunch of people that are going to fall into a trap or something. You're going to be tantalized to see it as you would be, as anyone would be. And then, of course, you're either, if you really want to, if you're thinking forward, you're going to, okay, I want to have this because I'm definitely going to want to talk about it, be able to watch it. I don't want to worry about having to watch in like a 24-hour or like a 48-hour window. So, it's...
I'm just stuck with it. Scoob is just part of my Amazon digital library, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Precisely. So So again, it looks like there's a chance this could go beyond Universal as the next trend. So that's what all studios are kind of fearing right now. So we'll see how that goes beyond this. But right now, it's like Universal might be setting a dangerous trend for the studios, which again, I think the bigger concern also with this is that there's a fear like if the movies can't recuperate their budgets, then the budgets are going to get lower, which could be interesting in one respect that, hey, we get some really interestingly made movies.
I do not think that's a bad thing at all. I think budgets have been bloated for like over a decade when it comes to mainstream Hollywood movies. I think that could be one of the best things to happen to the movie industry, honestly, in the long run.
I hear you on that front, but here's my worry, though. On that front, it sounds interesting. It sounds like, okay, we can get kind of back to like the Deadpool filmmaking. We're not a big budget, and they made an excellent movie because again, they weren't worried about a huge budget. They weren't, and all that. But by the same token, animation. I'm worried how it's going to impact the animation industry if they don't have a lot of money for their animation.
That is a fair point.
That's my fear. See, that's the double-sided sword here. On one hand, it could really challenge filmmakers. I mean, again, it can make people get creative. That could be good.
Return to 2D.
That too, but then again, you always hear the argument over the years. Some people saying, "Well, 2D nowadays it's too expensive to get back."
Yeah, I know. I'm just joking. Yeah,
I know. That's what I'm saying. Again, wouldn't that be a great solution though if it were that simple? So so speaking of 2D and the kind of the animation, let's the Mulan specifically. So this is big news. Disney Plus is actually going to be charging for something outside of membership.
Mm-hmm. Big,
which
fat
I think is
$30.
I think that's a bad idea for a myriad of reasons. One, it's complicating the simple idea of Disney Plus. The most complicated notion of Disney Plus is, okay, you can package it with the ESPN and the Hulu, and that's as complicated as it got, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not the case anymore if they do this Mulan thing, which it looks like they're dead set on doing because they don't want like a Mulan budget sized hole in the Disney calendar. So basically, it's a fear-based movie.
I think it's going to sell, though. Here's the thing. I think it's going to do really well.
Really?
I think it arguably might make more money on Disney Plus than it made in theaters, arguably.
Well, because of the $30 markup, I'm sure.
Not just... Well, okay, here's the thing you have to look at with the $30 markup, Dragon. I have a coworker who has 4 kids, so $30 is a fucking budget title for him compared to going to the movies, when you think of it that way.
Well, yeah, when you think of it in terms of like watching it at home with like a whole family. Here's my problem.
That is where they're going to make the killing off of it.
And that's the thing.
Folks like us get screwed. That's the problem.
Sure, and here's my problem. Okay, for me, if going forward, if this is like becomes the new norm, especially for some of the Disneys, kind of the Disney-owned stuff. For example, Black Widow. Like I can't imagine paying $30 for the live-action Mulan. me personally. But Black Widow, I would eat it, man. I'd have
In
to.
a heart.
Ideally,
Yeah.
what I'd have to do though, what I have to try to do, the only way I can really make this fully work is kind of the kids' philosophy, where my buddies and I, we usually go to the movies together, and I basically have to organize at my house, which at the moment, given the current climate, has been a little tricky of late. I've gotten a little get together, but
You
with
know
less,
what would be
less than the
great
whole
is if
gathering.
Disney offered watch parties
If they could
for
do
these
something,
movies.
yeah, that's not a bad idea. If they could do something kind of like that. But still, that's what I'm saying. It's you have to do a group thing, otherwise it's not worth it. I can't show my family members this because some of them are like not in the same location. That's the problem. I can't really. But then it's the same logic.
right.
I have to get them under the same roof, though. I guess that'd be the idea. But still, you can't really get some. The point being, it's going to be tricky.
I still think it's going to make a shit ton of money, though. I definitely think I'm going to make a call right now. I think it's going to be the biggest money-making digital release of all time.
Well, again, depends on what else, if they release anything else like that this year. But I guess if Mulan is just like the one testing ground for this year, then yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Black Widow absolutely will be once it gets released.
Yeah, that's what I'm. Yeah, sure. But here's the other thing. I think the mark. Because here's the thing. Again, before it was $20, and now like Disney's throwing around $30, which is like even more like kind of like, oh my god. So
you know how I feel about that though. I feel like Disney is cocky and they can do it and get away with it, and it kind of sucks, but we sort of have to eat it.
We do, and I think the $10, basically moving up $10 from the $20, it's absolutely Disney. They're afraid of losing their funding for their larger projects, and again, more of the needless live action reboots in the future as well.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dragon. We need to cover some of the stuff from Claude because he's actually bringing up some good little. So right now, folks, get ready. Claude Karinga's news flash.
Yeah.
All right, so Disney is launching a new streaming service next year called Star. All I can do is laugh at that, Dragon. All I can do is
joke,
laugh
right?
at that. I hope so. Okay, this is an important one. The SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run, will come to theaters in Canada on August 14th.
Oh,
Painful.
Canada.
Painful. I mean, Sponge on the Run isn't Tenet by any means, but that will be one where I'm genuinely like, oh man, I wish I could see that.
I'm not remotely interested in that one personally, but I hear the lust. I hear the want.
I see the potential in that one.
I don't know. Anyway, yeah.
So the trailer for Phineas and Ferb, the movie Candace Against the Universe, came out today, and it's been 9 years since Phineas for the movie. Haven't checked out the trailer yet, Claude, but rest assured, we will absolutely be doing a podcast on Candace Against the Universe.
This is what I meant too. Like, we have stuff coming in August, so yeah, we're definitely
Okay, so this is actually breaking news.
Yeah, I actually heard 2 bits of Ren and Stimpy news today. So there's this, which is I'm puzzled by this. Like, Ren and Stimpy is coming back to Comedy Central for a new series with a new creative team, which yet again seems to be. I mean, I don't know if that's the best idea, bringing Ren and Stimpy back.
Roll the dice. Come on.
I mean, look,
that's
obviously,
how I feel about
I'll check it out. I'm just saying
it can't be any worse than Adult Party Cartoon.
That's what I'm worried about. Another one, though. That's what I'm worried about.
It can't be any worse. It can't. That's how I feel about this.
It's Ren and Stimpy's been kind of
already seen the bottom of the barrel.
Ren and Stimpy's kind of been done 3 times already, because you had the original, then you had kind of the game, I think it was called Games Animations, like kind of like essentially doing without the original creative team, and then you have them bringing back the original crazy creative team with a Party Cartoon.
Oh, God.
Speaking of which, I heard something really interesting today about Ren and Stimpy. I guess kind of like dovetailed from this, people I was directed to it. They're doing a documentary on Ren and Stimpy, and it's going to be about all the warts and all stuff with Ren and Stimpy. But it's like it was teased at the Sundance Film Festival. And again, the thing that irritates me so much about the Sundance Film Festival. The thing that irritates me so much is that, again, Sundance promises so many fascinating documentaries and biopics I'm so eager to get to, but I got to wait for them. I don't know when they're going to be available or when they're coming.
So what you're saying, Dragon, is you're willing to wait for it? Sorry.
Just. You see, okay, just back to my point, though. I mean,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So many tantalizing good ideas, though. And
I hear you. I absolutely hear you. I feel you so hard on that.
I know, because this Ren and Stimpy thing sounds like a brilliant. Like, I want to see this documentary so much.
Well, whatever happened to the documentary that was in the works for like just the '90s Nicktoons era
I
in
know that
general? Isn't
too.
that still a thing?
I know like that and the RoboCop documentary. Some of these documentaries kind of getting lost in time, where I guess they faced like a delay or something, and then there's just been no news on them. And maybe they've come out, but they've only been coming out in private screenings. That's the last I heard about these things. Like the Nickelodeon one got a private screening or something, and then we never saw it again. So again, it's like the Sundance thing where I hear some really catchy stuff, but then I don't know where it's going to stream to, even if it's going to be available for rentals. It's crazy.
All right, couple more Claude Kringa newsreel stories. If you
We're
guys
gonna
watch
cover
any
the
of the Comic-Con at home panels, Claude, we'll get to that soon.
Yeah.
Okay, and finally, the Kill Me Dragon.
Oh God.
Kill Me.
The new streaming service Star will be launching in 2021. Will consist of the following brands: ABC. Okay, actually, this one actually makes sense. This is where they're all
You
the
know
stuff.
what though? My problem with this is that we have stuff from Fox Searchlight, stuff like Fantastic Mr. Fox, that I'm glad is there, and that's going. We have stuff on Hulu from ABC, stuff like Lost and stuff like that. That's going. Hulu has a lot of FX stuff. I don't know. It just seems like this is like, once again, it's like, okay, let's make it like even more homogenized between the three.
I think you hit it just kind of on the head unintentionally, Tiki, where basically the simple solution is what people were speculating when Disney Plus arose in the first place. Why don't they just, out of all the money Disney's been spending and throwing around, instead of creating Star, just buy Hulu, and then all this stuff's already there already.
Right.
You know?
That's how I feel.
Just basically put the Disney, like Hulu presented by Disney or something, just like, or Hulu. I don't know, just Hulu. Just use the thing that
Hulu
works.
Plus. Hulu
it's already got
Plus.
Plus, it's already got a deal where it's lumped in with Disney Plus. Everyone wins. Just get Hulu or buy them out of all the things you're buying.
Yeah, frankly, I think a new streaming service from Disney. I mean, Dragon. Look, let's face it. We're at the point at Disney fans, as Disney fans, where we can't just turn a blind eye and say that Disney's not a cocky, evil empire at this point. I mean, we can't. We can't. We're just reporting the truth at this point, Dragon. I'm still a fan, but
I'd say there are your pure components that they're like Pixar. By the same token, though, there's an empire there for sure.
Right. All right. Okay, so Dragon, what's next on the docket? I think we have some unfortunate passings that we have to get to.
Yes, so more bad news, folks. Actually, legit bad news instead of our first world problems. So we lost a number of great people today. We're going to focus on about we have 4 of those people that we were somewhat familiar with. So we had Kelly Preston, who unfortunately passed away of breast cancer in July. Kelly Preston, you know Kelly Preston, right?
The one thing I really, outside of being John Travolta's wife, one thing I really know her from is Sky High.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I know her from Sky High. You also know her from Jack Frost. She was the wife in Jack Frost.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And the big thing I've always known her from, Twins. She was Arnold Schwarzenegger's, of the sisters that were kind of courting, the Benedict brothers that were Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. She was the one that took a fancy to Arnold Schwarzenegger. And, a lot of love for Twins. So I've always known her for that reason. She was kind of like, she was like, she was this beautiful model that kind of became an actress, and that's how she kind of got her start with movies like, I'm not saying Twins was her first movie. It's like the one, but like that and Mischief. Mischief was a big one for her. I don't know if you've ever seen that. I think it was from '85. I think.
Nah, can't say.
But yeah, the point being, like she was a big thing in the '80s, going from like the model to the actress sort of thing, almost like a Christy Brinkley sort of thing. So yeah, that's kind of where know Kelly Preston from. And of course, then she kind of graduates into doing like kind of those stuff that kind of our generation, like your Sky Highs and your Jack Frost of the world, saying stuff like that. So it's a shame that she died young from this breast cancer. That's a shame. But speaking of dying young, I mean, one we really got to highlight next.
Oh man,
Grant Imahara. Now
Dragon, this one got to me. This one fucking got to me, dude.
And it got to us from the same place. It got to we were the MythBusters kids, man. We like MythBusters.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I don't want to say I grew up on MythBusters. I think MythBusters was like my high school years, but still, like, oh god, it was genuinely just a comfort food at its finest. Mythbusters was one of Discovery Channel's best comfort foods.
It was like the flagship thing of Discovery Channel, man. I mean, now you have kind of ID, but way before that, man, you had Mythbusters was the flagship one, man. Mythbusters made science cool.
Claude, all I can say about the Beirut explosion is that at this point, like the world and I'm kind of on media shutdown right now, Claudie boy. What I mean by that is I know about the Beirut explosion, like just by way of hearing about it, but at this point, not to sound all doom and gloom, but I'm kind of just in media shutdown just because the media right now just scares the shit out of me, and there's just so much stuff going on in the world, and I have really bad anxiety about it, and I frankly can't watch the news, or else I'm going to have a fucking panic attack.
See, this is why I'm even more angry at John Krasinski for going all corporate with his good news show, because now no one can just watch it. Now you have to watch through the CBS app now.
So, Claude, I wish I could say more, buddy, but that's kind of my response. I'm just at this point, just thinking about watching the news makes my palms all clammy, quite frankly.
Grand Imahara. So, of course, Mythbusters. Also, a big thing, I believe, was, I don't know if that brought him to Mythbusters or what, but he was an engineer. That's kind of his big role on Mythbusters. And he worked on a lot of the big time stuff. He'd been involved in Star Wars, Jurassic Park, some of the Terminator. Did Galaxy Quest. There's a big one for him. He basically, the man definitely made a mark in cinema. Maybe not a huge mark, but I'm saying like a mark that was like we didn't see, but you appreciate once you know that. Like he was the face behind what made this the cinema come together. Like made the animatronic T-Rex, that sort of stuff. Imahara was there, and of course, very much again in the behind the scenes component. He made science cool through Mythbusters. Also, I actually found something out that I didn't know before. Is that remember when you and I were speculating about the footage in the Imagineering story about like the end? You had like that one that looked like he was web slinging a little animatronic dummy.
Yes.
Apparently, this was part of Disney's Stuntronics thing. Does Stuntronics ring a bell?
Yeah, I know of Stuntronics, yes.
So apparently, I think that was Stuntronics, what we saw there. I'm pretty sure. And Imahara was behind that. He built kind of like the model of the algorithm or something, like kind of the base model that became the Stuntronics thing. That was him. And the last thing that he was doing, he was actually building his own Baby Yoda from scratch, an animatronic Baby Yoda that he was going to take that he took to children's hospitals.
Wow.
How amazing. He built it from scratch, man. Crazy. Man was brilliant and taken way before his time. It just F brain aneurysms, man. F aneurysms. I hate them.
Yeah, that's a bad way to go.
I know it's kind of like act of God type of death. I hate it. All right. So speaking of, so Regis Philbin.
Okay, Regis Philbin. On one hand, I'm really sad to see him go. On another hand, I honestly I thought he was like even older than he was, so I was kind of just like, well, yeah, it kind of makes sense that Regis Philbin would go around this time. But with all due respect to Regis Philbin, I think the man's an icon. I grew up with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I was like 10 years old when that show dropped. Dragon, I was hooked, buddy. Hooked. That show was like crack to me. I swear to God. And Regis Philbin was one of was the lifeblood of that show. I don't really care all that much about Live with Regis and Kelly and all that stuff. Although my grandma did have a fondness for it, so I have a minor attachment to it. But Dragon, Regis's original run on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, legendary television, buddy. Legendary television. That's all I gotta say.
That it was. Of course, Regis and Kathy Lee, and of course all the then like fill-ins. They have like Regis and Kathy Lee to Regis and Kelly to Kelly and I think Kelly and Ryan for a while, and then they have I think Michael and Kelly with Michael Stray. The point being that he built a brand that could really never compared to the original.
I think Regis and Kelly was the best.
I agree with you. I'm just saying I think it started with Kathy Lee. I think
it started with Kathy Lee, but I think Regis and Kelly was even better.
Yeah, you're right.
Hot take.
No, I agree with you. I feel it was the superior one of all the variations. But my point is, Regis Kathy, I remember seeing that on Seinfeld where Kramer went on Regis Kathy Lee, and they actually had Regis Lee. He was going gaga for Kramer. It was really funny.
Also, Regis would always be kind of like one of the consummate, like, he'd be there for like press interviews and New Year's Eve type stuff, and I believe wasn't he the one who carried on after Dick Clark died for Rockin' New Year's Eve?
Well, that's a little tricky. 'Cause I know Seacrest is always there. I'm trying to think if Philbin really. I don't know if Philbin took Dick Clark's
I think
place.
Philbin might do his own version of Rockin' New Year's Eve or something like that.
That sounds more right. That sounds more. Anyway, so you have that, and also I saw what his last appearance was. He was on that show Single Parents. I don't know if I ever told you about it. It was it got canceled. It's not. It was. I watched it for Brad Garrett. Brad Garrett was great. Anyway,
Oh God.
the point being, Regis Philbin had like a little role where he played himself, and basically one of the characters missed the birth of their kid because they were starstruck by Regis Philbin. Didn't even talk to him, but he was just there. It's like off to the side, like gobsmacked. There's Regis Philbin.
Oh no!
So like, anyways, that's the point. That was kind of his role there. It just kind of showed up. The point being, Regis Philbin, always super likable, iconic personality. Not so much an actor, but a personality.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the touchstones of Hollywood.
So next up, Wilford Brimley. Man, this one also kind of got to me. Dragon, I am not going to lie to you. I am mostly familiar with this man through the diabetes commercials. That being said, he is an 80s horror icon, and I respect the hell out of his work.
Cocoon.
Absolutely. Cocoon. The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing.
And one of the most iconic film mustaches you've ever seen.
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely. And I'm sorry, Dragon, but there is, like, he will be immortalized through the diabetes thing. I'm not even kidding. Like, to a generation of kids, myself including, that stupid fucking diabetes meme was just the peak of internet hilarity for a time being. So, I think he's got that going for him too. And I honestly think that's, like, what more can a guy ask for in terms of, like, he's an iconic actor with just a huge slew of really varied and interesting performances. And he's also just a treasured internet meme.
Okay.
You're not even going to dignify the internet meme thing, man.
It's all right. So it's just
Claude, back me up here. Come on. Diabetes. All right. Okay, next news item.
Yes, so folks, we're still kind of in we had the death portion of the show, which was sad. Now we're in kind of the wake portion of things, which is what Comic-Con felt
now
like.
Now we're in the death of Comic-Con portion.
Yes, San Diego Comic-Con at home is what we had. And Claude asked about this earlier, so we're gonna kind of give my thoughts on here. Did you check out any of this?
Can't say that I did, unfortunately.
Well, you didn't miss a whole lot. You didn't really.
I kind of figured.
So here's what, folks. Here's
well,
what
he got some good information about the Phineas and Ferb movie, so power to him there.
Sure. But again, I think that was more today than it was Comic-Con. But yeah, sure.
He says thanks to Comic-Con at home.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess sure. All right. Okay, I'll take it. Anyway, yeah, he's right. I guess. Okay. The point being, so Comic-Con, it was definitely, at the very least, it was a mixed bag. I mean, it lacked the oomph. And I know that sounds kind of silly because all I can really do is like watch the Comic-Con coverage from home anyway. You think, what's the difference? Well, it turns out there is. It's just. Think about this, Tiki. We kind of have Comic-Con, in theory, in the best way you've ever had it, where everyone can actually tune in. There's no secrecy about the trailers and everything. It's not. They've taken the exclusivity out of Comic-Con, which in theory sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just such a puzzling thing because it's just kind of lacking the ceremony and the oomph of it all. And again, it's like basically all the panels are just like these Zoom calls. And it's like there's not much of a. I mean, there's a Q&A, but it just doesn't feel the same. It's
no energy, Dragon. Energy is the word you're looking for.
It's sure. It's lacking the energy. The only one who delivered and still delivered a little hesitated was Kevin Smith. Had his panel, which he tends to do, like his Hall H panel. In this case, it was a kind of like a Zoom call Hall H. The difference was it was a one-man thing. It wasn't like a whole bunch of people on a call. It was just him playing to the audience as he tends to do. But here's the problem though. He was great. Honestly, I think the highlight of the whole Comic-Con, but they bleeped him because I guess they were going for like an all ages thing. You can imagine how this would play with
You
Kevin
don't
Smith.
bleep Kevin Smith.
That's what I'm saying, but that's the point being. He was again. He brought it with the panel, but still was like bleep every other word.
For Christ's sake, it's like bleeping a Scorsese script.
I know. So you had that. I mean, of the trailers, I mean, I kind of avoided some of them because, again, a lot of them, unfortunately, because most of the productions are kind of on hold and up in the air, and they have no idea what to do with them. And the stuff that is coming like this month or next month. I wanted to avoid it so I can watch it.
Right. Like, for example, I haven't watched the trailer for The Boys. I want to go into that as fresh as I can.
I watched like one of the trailers once, and I haven't gone back to because I want to kind of like go in as well too. I haven't watched any of the other. I saw like the teaser like last year when they released that. So there's that. I did watch the trailer for Spree. The kid from Joe Keery, the kid from Stranger Things, Steve.
Oh, okay.
Steve's a new horror movie, which I think you'd really like. It's this. It's basically it's kind of an Uber. It's kind of an Uber driver version of Saw.
Dragon, you know I like my creative horror movies. I'll give it a watch.
I think the trailer looks really creative, man. It looks really interesting. I mean, anyway, so there's that. Infinity Train Book 3 was announced, so that's coming to HBO Max this month.
Which I also avoided the trailer for because I want to go in as blind as possible.
Well, I saw the trailers to see what the deal was because I was hoping he was going to reveal, and on Cartoon Network, not the case, just on HBO Max. So we're going to have to work on that. Let's see. I think it's about it, unless Claude has anything else aside from Phineas and Ferb.
He says the Solar Opposites crew answered the question, are Corvo and Terry a couple?
Right. The whole, Solar Opposites. And there's a little bit of Rick and Morty talk as well. There was actually some footage they viewed, like animatic footage for Rick and Morty. It looked pretty good, man. It was some really heavy footage. Like Rick and Morty's going to start off big next season. So that's about it. Really can't go into too much here because, again, we really didn't watch it. There's like an Umbrella Academy trailer, which I'm already like halfway through Umbrella Academy, so I couldn't quite watch the trailer then if I wanted to go into it clean, which I have. So it's pretty much just gilding. It was like gilding the lily year for San Diego Comic-Con, as it appears. So it is lacking that energy, and I feel so spoiled. I feel so like spoiled. Yeah, I've never gone there.
You know how I feel spoiled this year? Because God knows that a year ago I was just complaining about mediocre movies coming to theaters. And now it's like, the idea of a new movie coming out every week just feels foreign to me at this point. Anyway, sorry.
One more thing, because Claude's bringing up Dragon Prince here, and he says he got renewed for more seasons, for 4 more seasons, even better. For me, Troll Hunters, Wizards is coming out on Netflix this month, and I'm looking forward to that. It's basically it's the last chapter of Guillermo del Toro's animated universe, interconnected universe on that of his DreamWorks series.
Nice.
So that's good. So they announced that as well. I think that's about it. Again, I just wish if Comic-Con ever gets back on its feet, I know it's I don't know how it's going to work, if they ever do get back on their feet. Honestly, it'd be kind of interesting if they went back to the old hotel days of the Comic-Con. That'd be kind of interesting. If they brought it back small.
Right.
Because everyone's been saying for years, with Comic-Con, let's cut out all the media stuff. Let's focus on the comics, and perhaps they do kind of a media-specific version of the Comic-Con, so then you have 2 versions of it. I don't know, but the point being, if they maybe kind of trimmed it in certain areas, but honestly, if you had the at-home version, but you actually gave them all the footage, so basically Comic-Con as it was, you have to find recordings of all the panels and everything. If only you could have that and debut all the footage, all the trailers and footage online the same day. I mean, that's kind of, if you kind of mix what we're dealing with now, could be interesting. I don't know.
All right. Now it's time for the segment I like to call, why do you keep ignoring Ray Seahorn, Emmys? What's wrong with you?
So this is where we talk about the Emmys.
What does the woman have to do? Apparently that's it. I'm done, Dragon. I've said my piece.
I guess she has to die.
What more does she have to do, Emmys?
She might have to die to get an Emmy. I mean, the character, not Ray Seahorn, the character.
Dragon, at this point, I think the fucking actor might have to die.
Oh my god. Sad to say.
5 years. 5 goddamn years. I'm not done, Dragon. 5 goddamn years of just nothing but perfection. topped with this season that was the Kim Wexler season. No nominations. What the fuck, Emmys? What the fuck? All right, I'm done, Dragon. I rest my peace.
Right. So again, we're talking about the Emmy snubs here. Of course, Ray Seahorn yet again didn't get it. I'm upset by it too. Emmys, they get a good notion like, hey, we're going to nominate The Mandalorian and Better Call Saul, as we tend to do, of course. Unfortunately, nomination at the Emmys is an empty promise. Unfortunately, that's the case, folks, because, I mean, Mando's probably not going to get it. Better Call Saul in a just world should get it. It's not, because we don't live in a just world. Look around you.
Look around. Look around.
Anyway, so you see my point, and again, of course, like Ray Seahorn really killed it this season on Better Call Saul, as she always does.
It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
And remind me, she'd be in the lead. I always think of her as the lead actress on this. She would be in the lead actress category,
especially
right?
This season, dude.
I know, especially this season. I'm just saying, again, the show is really it's her, Mike, and Jimmy. Like, those are your three leads. Again,
I would argue Mike is supporting over her.
I know, that's the thing. It's just the minute I said, because I'm realizing, Giancarlo got nominated for supporting, therefore, obviously, Mike would probably. But yeah, he's one. Like Jonathan Banks, I think Jonathan Banks. I think maybe the show once, but I know for a fact, Bob Odenkirk and Jonathan Banks have won Emmys for Better Call Saul, but at least once. I want to say during the first or second seasons, they've won at least once.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. The point being, nothing we like ever wins. It's going to go to some popular. At the very least, I think Smart Money says the odds are going to favor Watchmen this year. If not, I'm going to be shocked. Like, really? Nothing?
You know what? I can live with Watchmen. I can live with Watchmen.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I need to, because Watchmen really impressed us, right? I mean, I really enjoyed Watchmen. That's the thing. If anything's, if Watchmen, I'm glad Watchmen got nominated. I mean, Mando also got a number of nominations. Well, even Taika Waititi got a nomination for voice performance for Mando, so that's that's good. The point being, at least some stuff got nominated. Again, only two other snubs I want to mention here, along with Ray Seahorn. Kidding, yet again, nothing. And Defending Jacob, that one, I'm shocked that one got snubbed, because that one's, I mean, Defending Jacob got a lot of buzz, and I watched. I thought it was fantastic.
I mean, I'm gonna say, like, are you really surprised that Kidding? Like, Kidding is a fucking unicorn that no one appreciates.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I'm not surprised by Kidding. I'm still upset by it. Especially season 2 was even better than the first.
Claude, we have your attention. Watch Kidding, please.
Seriously, Claude, watch Kidding. There's 2 seasons. Probably not going to get a third one, but it doesn't need a third one because it has a really definite ending. It's really good. Anyway, yes. So let's point being outside of our Emmy woes here. Let's see. Claude actually brought up some stuff here. Do you think New York Comic Con will do an at-home version as well? Chances are probably, yeah. I mean, something I should mention. DC's actually doing something that looks like it's going to turn out a little better than this. Looks like it's going to have more energy than it. It's just the trailer, mind you, so I can't verify this. But they're going to like Mark Bernard's going to be there. There's going to be I think it's going to be a little bit more of a. I don't know. It might turn out a little better. DC's doing their own version of the Comic Con called the DC Fandom.
Really? Huh.
So yeah, that's coming. I think this month. It's either this month or next month. I'm pretty sure it's this month. They're doing it. It's a DC Fandom, and they have like a virtual thing where it looks a little cooler. I mean, it's going to be like only for like 24 hours. You're going to be able to watch it. So pay attention to when it is, and then check it out. I guess because it should be available to everyone. You just gotta it's only be like for one day only. I hear they're going to show some stuff in the new Suicide Squad movie. Like you might be able to see what King Shark looks like with James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie. I don't know. Point being, it looks. So I know they're doing that. I don't know how my own Comic Con's going to turn out. I'm expecting not good, so that implies to me They're not going to do virtual for mine, folks. Believe me. New York is like San Diego, then New York right below it. So New York has a shot at probably going digital, and they're doing this DC Fandom thing. So I think those 3 are probably all we're going to get. I don't know all the other like Wizard World and all that stuff's going to do. I think they're testing the waters this year, and then they're going to see how it goes going forward. So that's my thoughts on that.
Oh, Dragon.
Yeah.
Breaking news.
Yes.
Surprise report that I'm going to spring you with. Dragon, we need to talk about Ellen.
Please. You want to talk about Ellen?
I want to talk about Ellen, Dragon.
Okay.
Do you know what's going on with her?
I'm painfully aware of what's going on with Ellen. Yeah, I got it.
Okay, I don't know what there is to say about Ellen, but I just want to acknowledge it. The only reason why I'm talking about it is because you brought up Brad Garrett. Brad Garrett, very
Yeah.
outspoken against her.
Yes, yes.
Um, I don't know, man. All I can say about this situation is that for years I have gotten kind of like a fake nice vibe from Ellen. And I want to just put out there that I was a fan of Ellen's back in the day, back during the Finding Nemo days. I thought she did a really good job promoting, the LGBT community in a really positive way in the early 2000s. Being one of the first out and proud talk show hosts, and I still kind of admire her for that. That being said, Dragon, being a shitty boss is being a shitty boss. And we've kind of heard nothing but horror stories, and I don't know. It's one of those things where it's just another. I just want to talk about it before we move on, just because it's just another case of just Hollywood. Just frankly, if Ellen gets canceled, I think this might be a case of like it being warranted. If I'm being completely honest with you, and I don't say that often.
Here's my problem with all this Ellen stuff, all right? Because again, I really enjoyed the Ellen show, and I mean it's like one daytime talk show I really get behind compared to like all the other stuff. Like Oprah, she gave away extravagant stuff, and she always like, I don't know, she always like made things really, really kind of like really kind of ratings heavy. Like we got to talk about this because it's a serious issue. Where Ellen was like, hey, let's chat with celebrities. We'll play some games. I'll give the audience like free movies and stuff, and that's quite nice of her, and quite. This little production she's got there. Ellen was fun. She was like the fun, achievable version of Oprah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And of course, I obviously, I was in the bag because of the whole Nemo of it all, the Dory of it all, and of course, her champion the Pixar films and so on and so forth. But my issue is this: I've heard all this Ellen stuff, and it really just kind of came out of nowhere. And it basically
no, it didn't come out of nowhere.
Well, what I mean is, it hit and then it picked up steam as it went on.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's what I meant.
Dragon, what I equate it to is the Channel Awesome thing.
Well, sure. Now you bring that up, yeah.
Well, what I mean by that is that there were murmurings about shit going down at Channel Awesome for years, and then it suddenly just exploded. And I feel like the Ellen situation is kind of similar.
Sure, but here's my problem. Here's what I'm getting at, Tiki, is that here's the difference between that and Channel Awesome, is that Channel Awesome, we had every detail. And my problem is, and I'm taking it at face value, but I'm still kind of bothered by is, I'm hearing the words toxic thrown around, and I'm just getting like vague. I don't know what is happening. I'm just saying I wish.
I hate to use this card, Dragon. I hate to use this card. Do you not trust Brad Garrett?
That's what I'm saying. I'm inclined to Brad Garrett, being a stand-up, being who he is, he's going to call it out. But again, he's not really delving too deep into it, and that's my problem. No one there keeps saying. It just makes me think it's a bandwagon where I'm assuming because of Brad Garrett speaking against, I'm saying, okay, obviously it's probably legit. But I'm just hearing people throw away the terms that have been thrown everywhere to understand a little bit of my skepticism here. Not that I don't believe it.
Sure.
I just wish I had like a little bit more of an inkling of what exactly it is, because they're saying it's
basically we need a hashtag not so Ellen document.
That's what I'm saying, because I keep hearing bad stuff's happening. I'm like, what bad stuff? Tell me what bad stuff. So I
mean, just generally speaking, just her being just totally like, I don't even want to use the words to describe it, but
I've only seen one instance of it with the Dakota Johnson thing, where she's like says, you never came to my party. I invited
there's
my
stuff
party.
That's a lot worse than the Dakota Johnson thing.
That's what I'm saying. Not that I want to drudge it up here, but you see what I'm saying. I can't find it anywhere. Of like, they give me like so I can accept it. You know?
You want to know one really bad thing with her?
Well, I guess, yeah.
She kind of has a tendency, like a running tendency, like this has happened on more than one account, of getting so pissed off at waitresses over tiny little details that she almost gets them fired.
Okay, there we go. See, that's something. That's what I'm talking about. You give me a detail like that, I can glom onto it. Okay,
and that's what I'm saying, Dragon. And she generally treats like a lot of the people around her that she considers beneath her in kind of the same light.
Well, it's. I know that's unfortunate for sure. And again, folks, we're in the bad news segment of the news right now.
So that's what I'm saying. So I needed to bring it up.
All right, anyway, so let's start the climb out of the pit here with some actual good news. Like, hey, again, in using the term "bad" within the title here, so you're slowly but surely getting out of here.
Right.
The Bad Batch is the Clone Wars characters. The Bad Batch,
I love how
basically.
you did that intentionally.
I know it is. Basically, we're going to climb out of the pit here. So the Bad Batch is coming to Disney Plus in 2021. So basically, the Bad Batch, for those who may not be aware, it was this rogue group in the last season of Clone Wars of these really cool kind of not off model, but they're kind of like off brand clones. Basically, clones that look far different than all the other clones. They're kind of manufactured. Like these guys they're like the defective clones that do the insane risky missions.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool guys, and they splashed onto the new season with these guys. They got a lot of attention. People loved them, so I'm absolutely behind this. Dave Filoni's involved, so I'm down for it. Man, the Bad Batch.
I have to catch up on like pretty much all the animated Star Wars stuff, so I'm not jumping up and down about a new thing that I need to catch up on. But it's cool. I'm glad that there's something Star Wars related out there because the new movies are going to come out God knows when. So.
Yep, and we got a new season of Mando like a couple months from now. So
that's true. God, Mando's like one of the lucky ones.
It's October, November. I'm pretty sure it's October. We're getting Mando. Anyway, so yes, so we have that, and then the Bad Batch coming the following year. So we're kind of starving off the Star Wars. So that's good. Okay, next big. Oh, here's some legit good news, folks. Hit them with it.
Okay, so Pixar's Luca is announced for 2021. We'll see how that goes. I don't like the fact that they had a release date, honestly.
Well, to be fair, they work on them in advance, Tiki, so this is a chance this one was unaffected. But let me rephrase it. Not completed, but I'm saying it's like I might have the finishing touches to put on it.
Sure. But what I can say is that the premise sounds incredible.
It does.
The premise is basically just like an Italian coming-of-age story.
Yes, it's set
and I'm just like, yes,
Italian,
please, Pixar, take my money. I love it. I'm Italian. Take me back to my heritage, Pixar. Let this be my Coco.
Yeah, this is set on the Italian Riviera, kind of the seaside part of Italy. Kind of like kind of Venice-esque, I think. I mean,
yeah.
That's what have to be anyway. So. The point, Enrico, I have a first timer here. Basically, a story man on some of the greats like Up, Ratatouille, and the things like The Good Dinosaur. And he had involved. He had involvement in Coco. He's one of the. I don't know if he was on the brain trust or something. The point being, he was maybe not the brain. The point being, he was consulted on Coco. I don't know exactly what his role was, but Enrico Casarosa. He's the guy doing Luca. And also, you heard about the other kid, right?
No, tell me.
So basically, the premise is you have a boy. It's coming of age story. You have this boy in the Italian Riviera. So the Italian Riviera. This boy in a coming of age story. He makes a friend, and his friend apparently is some kind of sea monster.
Oh, really? Huh.
But I think it's like a humanoid. Okay. I don't think it's like I think more like Creature of Black Lagoon than it is like a Loch Ness. So that's I think I don't know. I'm saying it sounds like it's another kid who is also like a kind of a sea monster, hence the seaside town, which sounds really cool.
I like that.
I want to say that.
Of course, Italians have a history with horror movies, so they could maybe lean on that a little bit.
If they go for Creature of the Black Lagoon, I'm going to be really impressed with what kind of sea monster the kid is. That's going to be awesome.
Right.
Point being, he's asking. Claude's asking, do we see Luca being a musical? Well, Coco was a musical.
I see it maybe like no more than Coco being a musical, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was some songs in there, given the fact that it's leaning heavily on culture, and Italy is a very music-focused culture, much like Mexico is. So,
yeah, I'd agree with that. We're gonna have some Italian music. I don't think
gotta have it. Yeah.
I don't think
if we don't have a woman serenading someone with an accordion player in the background, Dragon, then they're doing it wrong.
I mean, either that or perhaps maybe, I'm just throwing it out there, perhaps like an operatic segment.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'd like to see that. Anyway, so, okay. All right, so point being, Pixar that we've announced what the next one is after we get the one we're supposed to be getting this year, so hopefully we get that first. Soul. Luca.
And honestly, Dragon, I think Soul and Luca could be like a great 1-2 punch for Pixar, and I'm really looking forward
I
to it.
I sold my first piece of Soul merchandise recently.
Did you?
Yeah, with McDonald's, they're doing these little plushy Pixar things, and include amongst the bunch of the iconic characters is the Jamie Foxx character
Oh, nice, nice, cool.
in his human form. Also, so on the note, there's in his human form.
That's
Not
good
his,
to know. That's good to know.
I think we're going to see a lot of his human form in the movie.
Because
Given that
frankly, I
the
do not.
last,
The one thing with Soul that's kind of holding me back is I don't dig the designs of the main two and
I,
the you know what I'm saying.
I know. I think it's going to. Honestly, I think at the end of the day, it's going to grow on you. But even if it isn't, I think it's going to be more like a go between. We're going to go between that and then the human forms. I think it's going to be fine. But anyway, so
Uh-huh.
okay. Here's something. Matt Reeves, he's doing a, GCPD tie-in show on HBO Max.
I got nothing. I just the thing with me is that we already had Gotham.
So let me make the.
I know you're more of a Gotham Central guy than I am, so you know.
All I'm going to say is it's supposed to be. I think this is one. It's
Also,
mainly.
let me just make the point that like before we start planning a Matt Reeves spinoff, can we at least see the Matt Reeves movie first?
I agree, and that's
That's the main thing with me beyond just the Gotham thing.
that's my point. I agree with you there that this is supposed to be a spin-off of an offshoot of that movie, which implies to me Jeffrey Wright would be in the show as Commissioner Gordon. So that's my hope, because that's basically the only way you make Gotham Central better if you have Gordon in that story, which you could have if it's like a tie into the movie. Which I don't know. I'm hoping for. And basically, the idea is that HBO Max, they're trying to build up their DC stuff because they're playing a whole bunch of DC original shows for HBO Max. So, again, we need to see the Matt Reeves movie first, but in theory, not a bad idea, especially if they go the Gotham Central direction, which is the only way you kind of make Gotham again without making that the Gotham show again. Because that show is about the city. This show has to be about the GCPD, which you're here for. Which, again, the way you do that story, Gotham Central, which is very minimal Batman, but still well, you can have Batman villains fully established. You have a lot of really cool. Again, Gotham Central is amazing. If they do that, it could be great. But I said that last time with Gotham. We saw that once. So fingers crossed. Not that Gotham wasn't fun.
All right, so Bridger Walker, a real life Captain America. This is Dragon. I'm just gonna say like this is kind of like the inspirational fluff piece that we put into the bit of bad news. But man, is it inspirational though?
Yeah, I was. Oh my, I was so taken by this story, man. I know the rest of the world is as well, but I mean, I went into this not knowing like the beat at the end. I kind of stumbled upon this like kid attacked by dogs. Essentially, the 6-year-old boy, Bridger Walker, he was. There was this. I think it was like a German Shepherd or something. A dog was. It was basically for some reason the dog went crazy, and it was charging at his little 4-year-old sister. And this kid he got between the dog and his sister, and basically he took the brunt of it to the face from this thing until I guess some adult came in and kind of separated all the chaos. And the kid, very traumatizing. I think 90 stitches this kid's gonna have to get in his face, or he got in his face at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And like the kid was asked, like, "Why'd you do it?" And it's just like, "Well, if someone had to die, it should have been me." And the minute I heard that, I was like, "Oh my god, the kid's like he's like Steve Rogers." Oh my god, it's like that's the equivalent to I'm just some kid from Brooklyn, or I can do this all day. I was like, oh, I was so touched by it. And then I find it, I keep reading. I'm so hooked on this story, and I read, and I had no idea about this going to the article. I don't know how I avoided this going into the article, but I did. Then Chris Evans, I know there's like a swell of outpour, like Anne Hathaway, Mark Ruffalo, and everyone, like a bunch of people in the super community are kind of saying like, hey, you're a real hero, kid. You did good, that sort of thing. Then of course we get to the big star here, Chris Evans, giving the kid props, literally and figuratively. Here, we're Chris Evans. Chris Evans, they show a video of the kid getting the video, like his mother taped him getting the video, and the kid wears a bunch of like play suits, and he's wearing the Captain America suit. When he's reading, the kid has blonde hair too, so he's like little Steve Rogers. He's reading this, he's watching the video of Chris Evans saying, "Hey, buddy, hang in there. You did something really brave." He's just blown away by it. I'm going to send you an actual Captain America shield. I'm like, oh my god, this. I don't know how many Chris Evans has. I know he has at least one Captain America shield, so he sent that kid his Captain America shield from shooting the movie. That's a screen use cap shield. And then like all the Robert Downey Jr. and Tom Holland get on the action, and like Robert Downey Jr. promises something really special for the kid on his birthday, which I can only imagine knowing Downey Jr. and knowing, oh god, you can only imagine if Captain America is giving him the meaningful gift. Imagine what Tony Stark's going to give the kid.
Oh god.
So the point being, I'm so this kid did something extraordinary. I wouldn't have had the guts to do what this kid did, man. I'm just touched by this story. Way to make everyone feel bad. Sure, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, the point being, this kid did something extraordinarily brave, and I mean, my heart goes out to him. And of course, the good news is I hear he's going to be, he's going to be able to heal right because he's so young. So that's good. I hear that's because basically the scarring in theory should go away and everything. Because right now he's got like last I checked, he's got like a nasty gash or something. But it's he'll be he'll be good. And of course, he's got Captain America backing him up, and that's the way you kind of make things right in this terrible situation. We need more uplifting stories like this. Like it sounds so made up, but it's so remarkably true and wonderful, isn't it?
All right, so finally, Kevin Smith is working on yet another new project, and to me, he's kind of becoming like the indie Guillermo del Toro, where
but he's actually doing him though.
Slowly but surely, yes.
Well, the animation takes time.
Moose Jaws is becoming his Haunted Mansion dragon. That's all I'm saying.
But he's been delivering in the meantime.
So is Guillermo del Toro, but I still want that Haunted Mansion movie. All right. Anyways, look, I don't have any real attachment to this, so I don't have much to say about it.
I think it's really cool is that as you remember from those Q&As from those evenings with. Kevin Smith was supposed to do a Green Hornet movie way back in the day before the Seth Rogen version. Mm-hmm. He was attached to it, and then basically he got scared off by the toyetic nature of the business. For basically, they're before the script's even written, they're like, okay, what kind of car are you going to use? We got to sell toys. So what kind of what are we going to build here? It's like, oh, he just got really terrified by it. So maybe I'm not the guy for this, which then leads to the 2011 Seth Rogen version, which I don't think is that bad, but a lot of people are like, how dare you? So. It's basically the way the fates kind of aligned here. An animation studio are kind of pre-playing a Green Hornet show, and of course they thought, well, the guy was involved in it. He did a Green Hornet comic that was kind of an idea of what he was going to do. So they went out to him, and he's doing it. And they're promising. Here's the thing: they're promising something that looks a little bit like kind of a lighthearted version of Batman the Animated Series. As in, it's going to be a little more accessible because of the animation studio, which is the only thing that worries me about this whole thing. Wild Brain's doing this. You familiar with Wild Brain at all? That ring any bells?
Can't say I am.
Wild Brain, they kind of skew a little bit more towards the kiddie stuff. Okay. That's what worries me. That's the only thing that worries me here, because it'd be untested for them to do something with Kevin Smith kind of touting off here. Like, it looks good. It looks kind of like more like a sunny California version of Batman the Animated Series. So, like, there are a lot of really interesting ideas. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but fingers crossed. I'd love it if this turned out good, especially with Kevin Smith involved. And he's doing the Masters of the Universe series, which is probably what got him on the radar as well. So, we'll know. So we'll have a good baseline once this Masters of the Universe show hits Netflix. But fingers crossed. I'd love to see this thing come to fruition and look good.
All right. And that does it for the news. Let's get right into TV. Oh dear God, I forgot we're not even on movies yet. Oh boy. All right.
Yeah, someone want to talk about the theater crisis. That's what we get.
Okay, Dragon. So I'll be gone in the dark. Tell me about this one.
Okay, man. This is a good one. This adapts Michelle McNamara's book.
First of all, where can I find it?
HBO. Man, I guess HBO Max. The point being HBO. All over. So this adapts Michelle McNamara's book, which she wrote, and you can find it as an audiobook. You can find it all over the place as well if you get really interested. And there's a podcast that does each episode of the show as well. So if you really get into it, you get jobs you can find this on. It's called I'll Be Gone in the Dark. It's a docu-series. It's like a true crime docu-series. It's only 6 episodes. So Patton Oswalt, his wife was Michelle McNamara, and she was a true crime author who was basically in pursuit of a story, and while she was in pursuit of the story she helped identify, name, and catch the Golden State Killer.
No shit.
So yeah, and she named the guy because originally he was the East Area rapist, and then basically she connected the dots, saying this guy is also he's once he escalated the killing. No, this guy is the same guy, and he's a killer now. So the Golden State Killer,
Yeah.
and she kind of helped again. She ID'd him. She again just kind of following the aftermath of these crimes. She kind of like pieced things together. She kind of got this whole like kind of like it's so like this kind of a almost like an amateur investigation of like all the true crime writers. She kind of banded them together, the guys who do the murder podcast. She got them all together and basically kind of built the trail. And she found things, and she actually helped catch the guy ultimately because he does get caught. HBO is making a comeback, buddy, on the true crime docuseries because one you had McMillions, which again is not so much like a murdery kind of series, but still, it's crime all the same. So they've been really on fire this year with their true crime series. This is and basically, this whole series, miniseries, is like it's proof that one person really can make a difference. It's a little bit like Mark Tyler Nobleman and the Bill Finger story, like how he got like one person just kind of like kept tearing at the thread, and he eventually got justice for someone. This is kind of like a more like a real world version of that with stakes. Not that the Bill Finger thing didn't have stakes; those are emotional stakes. These are emotional, but also physical stakes for a lot of people. Now, your protagonist has a ticking clock. Going into this, you might know the tragedy, what happened to Michelle McInerney. I won't spell it out for you, but there's a tragedy.
I do, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So when you go into this series knowing there's a ticking clock on your protagonist,
oh boy,
which is quite interesting.
Oh man, okay, you've sold me on this, buddy.
One of my favorite things in this thing, I won't spell exactly how it's done, but there's this creature from the Black Lagoon Runner. It's a symbol for the story that keeps popping up in each episode, as it's kind of this metaphor for like pursuing the killer as well as intertwining family life and the investigation, which very much fuels what happened, things that happen in the piece. And Tiki, if for some reason you're not somehow in this world not sold by the first 3 episodes, episodes 4 through 6 are masterful.
Okay,
the second half will get you. So I highly recommend this.
Fair enough. Whew. Good sell. All right. So I watched the rest of The Legend of Korra.
Which ironically is now coming to Netflix, which is
Don't get me started.
I know.
You know what the good thing is though? I was subscribed to CBS All Access to get Korra, and now Big Brother's starting, and I need CBS All Access to keep track of that, so whatever.
Right.
It's just another thing on my streaming service tab, I guess. Anyways, so Korra Book 3, one of my favorite Avatar seasons, hands down. I think this book did a fantastic job of establishing like the new status quo with the Airbenders. Zahir is a fantastic villain.
Love Zahir.
I think the finale of this season might be my favorite finale in all of the Avatar series, if I'm being completely honest with you, just because of how devastating it is and just how somber and just totally tragic that ending is. Yeah, I mean, just everything about season 3 is fantastic.
It's a perfect season, no question. I love season 3 as well.
And I've got to be honest with you, I like season 4 quite a bit. It's not perfect by any means, and certainly the ending stuff with the giant robot is kind of stupid. I'll give it that much.
It's an epilogue season for sure.
Dragon, I cannot. The bread and butter of the season for me is the Julie stuff.
Yep, Julie, man.
Just oh my god, the Varric and Julie subplot and Varric and Bolin. That's the bread and butter stuff. And of course, we have some great character development with Korra as well. And I think that Kuvira is also Dragon. What I like about Kuvira as a villain is that she's way more understated than a lot of the other Avatar villains.
You know who does the voice of Kuvira, right?
Who?
Zelda Williams, as Robin Williams' daughter.
Oh, okay. Nice. I mean, she's just kind of like got this cold, calculated demeanor to her, but she's not in any way kind of like over the top crazy, and that's kind of what I like about her.
But she's not necessarily. I mean, she's kind of trying to take over the world, but by the same token, she's trying to protect the world.
Right. So I do think, and also what I appreciate about it is that I feel like she could have potentially been another Fire Lord situation. And I appreciate the mirroring of that with the Avatar storyline. I like the fact that Korra ends on preventing what could have been another Fire Nation style invasion.
Yeah.
All right. Also, Dragon, I'm just gonna say it. I am currently rewatching book 3 of The Last Airbender with my dad,
Yeah.
and I gotta tell you, buddy, the pace of that season is really weird.
Well, I don't know.
Especially the early episodes. I mean, I love certain early episodes like The Beach. The Beach is one of my favorites. But I don't know, man. I'm more mixed on that season than I am positive on that season, if I'm being completely honest with you.
All
It
right.
has huge high points, don't get me wrong, but I just think book 2 completely overshadows it. All right. Anyways, off of that hot take, Fear City, New York versus the Mafia.
Yeah, so this is a Netflix three-part miniseries. It's 3 episodes, like 3 hours roughly, maybe a little less.
Why
It,
don't they just make it a movie at that point?
I gotta be honest though, this
That
one
kind of
kind of
bugs me.
this one isn't that it's not much of a problem here as it is with other places though.
All
I don't
right.
really mind it being kind of broken up here. I have to rewatch it to evaluate it, but I think they kind of break it up into 3 chunks of like 3 events happen. I think that's how they
Oh,
do
so
it.
you mean like 3 acts of a story
I
within a
okay,
movie?
all right, fine.
Sorry.
What I'm saying is it doesn't have a momentum problem like the Epstein thing. Okay, like the
Gotcha,
anyway.
gotcha.
Okay, anyway, so the point being, this is about the 5 crime families in New York who famously ruled over New York. Again, a little Daredevil season 1 esque in terms of like kind of the Kingpin's cabal, like the 5 members of the that sort of thing. It's kind of how we look at it here. This is the point being they were kind of at their peak and kind of like slowly towards the descent. They were kind of at their peak in the 70s. And the '80s is kind of is like kind of the Goodfellas period where they're kind of slowly but surely being taken down.
Uh-huh.
So we start off with Curtis Sliwa. I've seen this guy in a bunch. He was the guy who led the Guardian Angels vigilante group. He kind of sets the perfect New Yorker tone at the start of this thing. So they get a lot of really interesting interviews here. We have the best thing I'd say about this little miniseries is that we broach the 5 families going down through really interesting perspectives because we have the perspective of New York, the perspective of the FBI, the politicians slash the law, and of course some ex-mobsters, some ex-guys who were kind of on the other side of it, trying to kind of one up the one up the FBI that was gunning for them.
Mm.
So we had again all these perspectives on kind of the last era of the mob. It's we kind of explore sort of the constructions, how the construction industry ties into the mob, like the whole basically what we're covering in this story is like in the 80s they kind of discover like how the mob worked that we now know like is old news. Like okay, the mob, they would kind of keep eyes on on the construction projects. They'll get a little Kingpin-esque whole Union Allied construction.
Mm-hmm.
We see how the FBI was like bugging cars and everything really creatively, and some nice tension there. We learned this is where we didn't have a RICO trial before this period. So you get like the genesis of the RICO trial, like how the heck are we going to nab once we nab these guys, just going to get out in the streets. How do we get them all at once? How do we get the head guys? So,
Okay.
yeah, so basically it's we have like Rudy Giuliani's in this
Not
thing. I
gonna
don't
lie,
know.
Dragon sounds kind of complicated and boring to me, but
Well, I mean, okay, it's not super. I don't think it's super complicated. By the same token, I wouldn't say this is like a strong recommendation, TK. I wouldn't say it's a strong like a must see, but it was good. The guys who did Don't F with Cats did this, and I don't think it's as good as Don't F with Cats. I'll make that clear. But I'm saying it's like them bring a little bit of that style, a little bit of that sentiment here, just not as well. It's not as well executed a story as Don't F with Cats. And again, that was a whole series. That was like a mini series as well. Just
mm-hmm.
So it's let me put it this way: it warrants a rewatch for me. It does. I think I might enjoy it a little bit more on a rewatch, but it had some good stuff. And like Rudy Giuliani is one of my favorite parts of it because he was kind of like the guy rallying New York on the platform. Let's stop the mob. Let's put an end to this thing. So it's kind of like let's band together and stop the bad guys. That kind of story. So it's nice. I had a nice presentation. Just again, it's no Don't F with Cats. Let's be honest.
Okay, so Dragon, I watched specifically season 7 of the great British baking show. Oh boy. Dragon, this is comfort food at its finest, literally. I watched all of these episodes with my sister over the phone, and the only reason we watched them was because one of the hosts was one of the people that we recognized from the Mighty Boosh, and it was silly, and the people in it got way too competitive, but at the same time, it was very pleasant and very British, and the food looked delicious. But I've just got to give a special shout out, Dragon, to my freaking boy, Noel Fielding, because Vince Noir from the Mighty Boosh, because Noel Fielding just kills it, Dragon. Oh my god, he is like the consummate host. Like, Dragon, he's like the best way I can describe Noel Fielding is he's like an aging 80s rock icon. And he's just, oh man, he's just got such an allure of self-confidence, and he's just got such a general, like, yeah, what's going on, everything's groovy, we're gonna make some cakes today, guys. I don't know, Dragon, there's absolutely, like, there's almost zero actual substance to this show, I'm gonna be honest with you. But you know, it was a fun thing to do, to kill 7 hours with my sister over the phone. You know, that's about it. I just watched it for the host.
All right.
All right, what do you got?
Okay, lastly, for me on the TV front. Originally, I had this in the movie front, but then I realized, you know what? I realized it was kind of a redone, kind of a biography thing, so it would be a TV thing. But it was really good, though. It's like an hour and a half or so. It was anyway. So it's Chris Farley, Anything for a Laugh. So this was you can find it two ways. It's on Hulu, but it's on Hulu in the sense of it was on A&E, and therefore they put it on Hulu after the fact as well. So you can find one of the two places. You can find both places. Basically, they updated the A&E biography on Chris Farley, but they did it in a really special way, though. That's what I want to highlight. They did it a really special way. This is like a deeper update on the biography from the people in the man's life. So in the past, if you found the Chris Farley A&E biography, it would be like a little bit more like, okay, we're just going through the life, we're just kind of telling the tales, maybe a few snippets from the people along the way, sure. Just basically kind of almost reading from a script. This is like the intimate conversation version of that.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, we have a really compelling frame. They have a really nice, compelling framing device where you have Chris Farley's surviving brothers. I think it's like his three brothers. One of them, I know Kevin. Kevin Farley's the one who looks and sounds like Chris Farley. It's really heady when you have Kevin Farley go around and do stuff. Because, you know, he's done like, he did like this audiobook where he does like stand up as his brother's boy. It's really interesting. The point being, the surviving brothers, they kind of, they sit around and they talk about their brother. They kind of get things going. And basically they're sharing kind of the last meal their brother would have enjoyed. Mm-hmm. So they're all sitting around. They're having like a giant steak, like the portions their brother would. And obviously, Chris Farley, he ate like giant like portions of steak. So they all order like a giant portion of steak or something in this really nice place. And they're kind of then reminiscing about their brother and stuff. And then, of course, we then get the other people who knew Chris Farley, like, you know, David Spade and like some SNL guys like Al Franken, and very people you haven't seen before during doing these Chris Farley things, like Michael Rosenbaum. I know he did an amazing Chris Farley impression. I didn't know he was really close to Chris Farley. He did a show with Tom Arnold, had a show, and Michael Rosenbaum was on it. And, you know, Chris Farley, he had worked with Tom Arnold before and on the show, so that's how they knew each other. And I heard stories from him. You had, very interestingly, you had John Goodman, you had Al Franken, and most interestingly, Bobby Moynihan. You know Bobby Moynihan, right?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So Bobby Moynihan, he actually brought, I think he was one of the most interesting elements of the whole thing, because he is kind of, he had some deep connections with Farley, and not indirectly knowing him, but just kind of being like, he's kind of groomed in the SNL fashion, but again, for the modern era, where he is kind of the next big funny guy.
Right.
But imagine you're in the shadow of two of the, you know, again, like John Belushi, then Chris Farley, and again, like Moynihan is kind of like in that spirit, but by the same time, he's the guy who learned from those two tragedies.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't succumb to it. So he really brings, like, you've never seen Moynihan like this. He's a real somber, really kind of quiet version of himself, which is quite nice. It's quite interesting. There's a story with his mother that's also quite nice as well. You get to see, again, there's better insights and coverage of Farley's career. It's It's not really a huge retread. I mean, I think this and the actual documentary on Chris Farley are like kind of all you ever need about Chris Farley. I think they really covered it well with this. I love when they do Beverly Hills Ninja. I have new respect for Beverly Hills Ninja after watching this thing. It makes me want to watch that movie now because like Farley actually knew what he was doing during that movie, even though the movie was kind of skewed towards like Fatty Falls Down, as he would like to.
Right, right.
Where again, he knew his stuff. Like the Zuko swords, like he actually used those swords in the movie. He actually knew how to use them.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so I'd recommend that. I think it's quite nice. Okay.
All right. Okay, July 2020 movies. Folks, there were literally 3 of them. You're looking at all 3 of them. I think that's a first.
Yeah, it is a first. Well, we had that slow January once, so maybe, I don't know, I'd say it's the first time.
All right. All right, Dragon, the old guard.
All right, so the old guard. So this was an Image comic, the graphic novel by Greg Rucka. Greg Rucka, he was the guy who. So rarely do you get the guy who wrote the comic and get him on to do the movie when it's adapted.
Cool.
So that was quite special. This guy, he wrote very famously Gotham Central. It's a big feather in his cap, as well as Wonder Woman. And the really cool thing about Greg Rucka, I think, kind of translated to the old guard as a story, is that Greg Rucka, this guy has had a very interesting life. He's had many occupations over the years. Not only is he a writer, he's been an EMT. He's been a fight choreographer. He's been a security guard. The man's done a lot of interesting things.
All right, Dragon. So I wanted to like this more than I did. All right, and I respect it. I do respect it, but I just this is a movie that's not for me. I'll put it that way. Basically, I respect this movie. I respect the fight choreography. I respect the mythos. I respect the lore. I respect the characters. Frankly, Dragon, I even though this is a Netflix original movie, oddly, I feel like this is a movie that would have played better in theaters. And Dragon, I'm just going to say, I am not a fan of watching action movies in particular on the small screen. Like that is one of the things, like, because frankly, like, I'm just going to be honest with you, in my room, there's a little bit of a glare. And with action movies, usually it's either like a really bright scene or a really dark scene, and the glare is not ideal for either situation. But outside of that, the movie itself is good. It is good. I liked it. I just, I wish that I could, I wish that I could watch it in a more appropriate setting though. And also, Dragon, I'm just going to say, this certainly isn't the fault of the source material, but I'm getting really tired of realistic superheroes, like realistic gritty superheroes. I don't know, just, it's not the fault of the source material at all, but it's just the idea of like, oh, they're like genetically powered beings. They're not really superheroes. They're kind of like a realistic take on superheroes. Dragon, I've seen it, and it's a little boring to me, honestly. I think this movie does it well. I just want to acknowledge that, but it's a little trite to me. It's just a little bit kind of like going down the same road as like something like The Boys or Watchmen, or I don't know. I know it's not exactly the same thing, but it feels like it's very much in the same kind of tone. So I don't dislike it. I'm glad I saw it for some of the fight choreography. Charlize Theron, it certainly kicks ass. I won't deny that. It's just kind of a take it or leave it movie for me, Dragon. But, bear in mind that this, frankly, is not a movie that was made for me. It's really like, I am not the audience for this thing, just in general. All right.
Yeah,
I don't think I was as mean to it as I could have been.
No. I look. I hear I hear your points. I mean, the only thing I argue slightly with it is just that, again, I hear what you're saying about it, but again, it's more superpowers than superhero. That's the thing.
No, I get what you're saying there, yeah. But still, it's just another kind of like, okay, here's another twist to the superhero genre. We're not even going to call them superheroes. They're just superpowered individuals. I don't know. It's just.
Well, regardless, let me tell you my experience with it. So it is really cool. So initially, I I went into this. She's like, "Hey, it's an action movie on Netflix. I
Mhm.
was gonna watch it." And I went into this completely clean. I had no idea about the source material or anything. So I went into this for the first time. So I'm thinking, okay, it's gonna be like another mercenary movie, like Triple
Mhm.
Frontier
Mhm.
or Extraction, like the Chris Hemsworth thing. The Russos had some involvement in it. So it's
Mhm.
gonna be okay. Which that could be good. And Charlize Theron's in it, so I'm sold on that front. It's like a snippet of a trailer once. So again, I saw like basically, like they're in an action situation. That's all I saw. So basically, that first scene happens, and it's like, oh god, they just got gunned down. I imagine it's gonna be like a flashback or something going forward, and then they get back up and like, oh my god, there are healing factors. I was like, I had such then my excitement just rose like, oh my god, it's gonna be a good one, and it was. That's what I'm saying. You go in with that, and just you have like the healing factors are at play, and you reveal that not only do they just have healing factors, it's the fact that Charlize Theron is Andy and basically her team are like these throughout time have been kind of these warriors because they discovered way back when these guys are much older than they seem. Way
Yeah, yeah.
back when is when they discovered this, and they've been doing this for centuries, and they've all been kind of like linked together, and that's how they find each other, and they end up kind of doing good throughout the ages. And we have our newbie, just kind of we're kind of learning all this through the newbie Niall. So that's what I'm saying. So that was like the fun ride. Basically, the movie's just really fun in that regard. Just kind of seeing it go through that. Basically seeing someone kind of cope with the new abilities in a new role, and just seeing like, okay, to keep it simple. I mean, I think the villain's weak sauce. I'm going to say that too. I think the villain's weak sauce, and that's
I
just like kind of the
agree.
stuff
I
for his
I
CEO.
wholeheartedly agree. It was one I didn't even want to mention that because I felt like it was almost a cheap shot, but
No, but no, he is though. But here's the thing. So what the props I want to give the movie though are that it's a it did have cool action. I like that the
it
movie,
did. It did.
compared to some of the other stuff that you'd find on Netflix that can be a little stock in the action department, is that it offers a little more than just cool action. I think the Rucka element of the whole thing, I think, delivers in that there's some really interesting themes we're tackling here. Like we explore like what is it like to be a character that's lived for centuries? Like, for example, you have like these two characters, these two men who killed each other like during the Crusades, I think, who then fell in love with each other. That's a heady idea. Like that's sort of like over the years they kind of became like they're not even like just like romantically. It's like they're deep like they're soul partners, man. It's like they just read like it's a really good scene in the movie. Like
Mhm.
stuff like that. It's like we have like we have some really good ethical points where like the minute these guys are found out, the government and like this pharmaceutical CEO guy, or bad guy for the movie, as kind of like iffy as he is, he brings up about this good point where it's like these guys, if we can crack how these guys have their healing abilities, how they've lived for centuries, we could benefit humankind with this. But how horrific does it reflect us that we find out people have healing factors, we hunt them down, we torture them until we can get the healing factors? It's like that's horrific, and I like the ethical implications we're kind of exploring there. So like, on the whole, I mean, I love this. I wouldn't mind a sequel. There's definitely an opening for it at the end of the movie, and I think there's like another book as well within the series. I just had a lot of fun with it, and I thought it was a highlight of the month for me. It was a lot of fun and just a great surprise. As you went into it, just thinking it was gonna be like, oh, okay, it's like a cool action movie way to pass time, but a lot of fun. Loved it. Charlize Theron was good as well.
All right. Speaking of surprise,
Yeah.
Dragon, it's funny that you mentioned not knowing the premise of the movie before you go into it. I think I would have loved Palm Springs regardless, but my experience with it is special because I went in literally knowing nothing about it. I assumed it was going to be some dumb romantic comedy about a wedding and shenanigans were going to happen. Oh, God. Dragon, experiencing this movie without knowing about, spoiler alert, I'm going to have to put a spoiler here for Palm Springs because this is a movie to watch without knowing the trailers. Oh man, it knocked me on my feet, buddy. It knocked me on my feet. When I realized what was happening, I was so delighted, and I realized the potential of the storytelling, and they did everything. Dragon, this is a shot in the arm that 2020 cinema needed. I love this movie.
Yeah, so Palm Springs, kind of again, spoilers, folks. I was gonna say it one more time. Spoilers. It's kind of like this. I went in at first. I went in not knowing, and then I kind of like I saw Palm Springs pop up. I was like, yeah, Andy Samberg. Maybe I'll get to it. Then I heard kind of like floated around. I didn't know exactly how it was gonna work. I heard like rumors like kind of Groundhog Day esque. I said, what? I had no idea what. Again, once I kind of went into the movie with a fresh experience, just kind of wondering when is the Groundhog. I had this great moment where The movie is like an irreverent take on Groundhog Day with like a time loop story, which again the premise has been done a lot. Let's be honest, but
Not
there's a
like
big but.
this.
I know exactly. That's my point. So the execution was very inventive. That's what's really refreshing about this thing. Not only I love Andy Samberg. I thought he did a great job in this movie, but the reveal of our other protagonist and her POV through this story. That's the hook. That's the thing that impressed me. That's the big surprise going to the movie. You're thinking, okay, it's gonna be like, we're gonna see Andy Samberg get stuck in the time loop. Which no, we don't do that. He's been in it for a while. That's
love the reveal that he's been in it because it makes all his behavior in the first part of the movie make so much sense.
It does, and also kind of adds a little bit of a mystery to this guy. Once we have Sarah, the Christine Melody, Kristen Melody. Point being, the Sarah, the girl. Once once she's kind of our eyes into what's going on here, and just basically with the guy's been stuck in the loop already. Now she is. There's a lot of fun there. It's such a great idea. It's a great idea. We make a lot of smart calls in our story to shake things up.
Yeah, one of the things I love about it is the idea that Samberg has been stuck in the time loop for so long that he doesn't even really remember the life he had before the time loop.
And he's just kind of going crazy. He's gone a little nihilistic and kind of quasi-nihilistic. I mean, he's not a sadist or anything. I know it's not what nihilism is, but you know what I mean.
His entire existence now revolves around the time loop and revolves around the people at this wedding, and that he's just kind of chosen to accept it.
Yeah. Yeah, so of course, being trapped at a wedding, nonetheless, too. Again, what's one of the few functions of life you never want to have to go to, unless you're
trapped
the guy
at a wedding where every night your girlfriend is inevitably going to cheat on you.
Yep, and vice versa. But more, I won't go into too many details there. But that's the thing is, basically, it's like Kevin Smith kind of spoke once about every time you. When he was writing Red State, he took a left turn every time you thought you were going to get something straightforward.
That's absolutely what this movie does.
Which is great. J.K. Simmons, Oh my God, J.K. Simmons. So
I don't want to give away anything about the arc of his character, but I'm just gonna
hype it up. I'm gonna hype up. Simmons is gold, and he brings some great heart later in the film, and it leads to this fantastic moment of acting from J.K. Simmons, right?
Oh yeah,
he has like a honey of a scene later on. He's fun already. he's introduced like Andy Samberg is at a certain point where he's kind of in the middle of the action here. But oh god, it's what we do with Simmons is great. So again, we have time loop shenanigans, which in themselves are fun. We have some really charismatic performances. Again, Andy Samberg. Again, I still say
what the mark of a good romantic comedy is?
What?
When the third act breakup happens and you genuinely are caught up in it.
Yeah, you're right, and I did.
And and that's what happens here, man.
That's we have fun logical logic through the movie.
This is one of the best romantic comedies since 500 Days of Summer.
That's a perfect comparison. Yes.
And I don't say that lightly because I think 500 Days of Summer is one of the best romantic comedies of the past couple decades. So this is up there with that. Another thing I loved about the movie, even though I'm not quite sure what it represents, and frankly I don't really care, is the dinosaur symbolism. Is it a little pretentious? Yes. But I love the fact that it's the imagery that ends out the movie. Also, I love the fact that every character in the wedding has some sort of side plot or side hustle going on.
Yep. By the way, you had the CW Superman in there as the groom, and you had CW's Veronica. I was going to say Vanessa. Veronica from Riverdale is playing the bride.
Oh God. Crazy. Superman, how could you?
God. This is kind of entertaining me. Oh my God!
One of the most funny performances in the whole movie, I thought, was him just breaking down, crying when he's called out.
Oh yeah, we have a moment where we see he's not the Man of Steel. I'll say that much. We have that one moment where you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But seriously, Tiki, again, I keep saying it. I stand by the more I see Andy Samberg, especially in a movie like this. Andy, if we ever do a live action Freakazoid, which we're never gonna do, but if we ever did, Samberg's the guy. We got to get him as Freakazoid.
Also, let me just say, Samberg has been on a roll, and I think Dragon, I want to declare it an unofficial trilogy at this point, all right?
All right.
Hot Rod, Pop Star, and this.
I'm saying unofficial trilogy in regard of like he's like on a
In
roll with those
regards
three
to like
movies.
all three of those are specifically Lonely Island pictures, uh, like anchored by him.
Gotcha.
I think they make an excellent like kind of like the Cornetto trilogy.
Some people have been a little. Some people have been saying Andy Samberg's it wasn't as great in this movie. I disagree because I thought it was
Fuck
fantastic.
those
It's basically
people.
some people have said like
I
they
think
he's
he's
just.
never been better,
I'm saying
honestly.
I'm saying they like the comedy, but they say he's a lot of his range with the drama, and I disagree with that. I
I
think he did the drama very
wholeheartedly
well.
disagree with him being out of the range with the drama. Wholeheartedly disagree. I
I
really
know,
not
right?
into the drama.
Because that's what I'm saying. I like that. While we have some great phonological logic, we have this building growth of a static character. Because again, he's a
And Dragon,
character
all
in
I can
theory.
say is that I feel like the movie is a big fat metaphor for being stuck in a routine in your life. And I am still kind of like as a 30-year-old, still kind of trying to digest it. And I love the fact that a movie's come along that's given me a lot to ponder and think about in regards to my own life.
I love the metaphysical questions about existence and the themes as the one you just mentioned there. And that's what I'm saying too. I like that already that's already substance enough, but of course in the situation everyone's in right now of being routine and feeling like every day is kind of a little similar. I mean, kind of very
Uh,
timely, very perfect. Again, as you said, if you need a movie to sum up 2020 in kind of a good, also kind of like a heady way, I mean, Palm Springs.
I mean, at this point, like normally I'd be kind of like, yeah, we'll see how it goes, but honestly, I don't see anything else coming along anytime
I mean,
soon
but
that
seriously, if you want one to
we'll
sum
see.
up kind of like the kind of Groundhog Day effect, I mean, it's.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like the cards are on the table for this to be my number one of the year.
I mean, like the worst thing I could say about Palm Springs is not something against it. It's something just to kind of keep in mind with this. Like, it's a lot of fun. Even the worst I could say is a lot of fun, which is not a problem at all because it's a good movie and it's a lot of fun. But it's that you could say in comparison, it's no Groundhog's Day, but bear in mind though, folks.
You could, in
Let me
comparison, say Groundhog's Day is no Palm Springs.
let me put it this way. I would say even if you're of the mindset, well, it's no Groundhog's Day. There's never going to be another Groundhog's Day, so let's get over that. There's never you're
Right.
never gonna. In theory, you're never gonna top it because we're always using the Groundhog's Day for the time loop because it was kind of a patented version of that. But still, Palm Springs is something. It does something special. It kind of reinvents it, and it also doesn't help that nothing against Palm Springs. The week I saw this thing, Agents of Shield did a Groundhog Day episode as well, like
Oh
the time
no.
loop thing. So that's what I'm saying. But that's my point, though. I've seen the time loop thing done a couple times in a couple different shows and situations. But again, if you keep it fresh and interesting like this, it's not a problem. And they did that.
Yeah.
So it's good.
All right. Finally, Psych 2, Lassie Comes Home. What the fuck is Lassie Comes Home of it all, Dragon?
Okay, so this is on the Peacock app.
Oh dear. Oh god, do you have to like get a free trial or something?
No. It's like it's free and included. They're giving this away. They're giving this away for free.
Oh man. All right.
It's like one of those. Basically, if you have cable, you get it. So it's the
Gotcha.
Anyway, point being, it's on the Peacock app, and it was I think tailored to the Peacock app. So I think it's the only way you could watch it, I guess. But it might come on USA, which is the network that had Psych, I guess. I don't know. The point being, they did something especially for the Peacock app, which was the sequel to Psych. So Psych did a movie. Of course, Psych ended a couple of years ago, and they did a movie that was like 2017. Unfortunately for them, last time they did that, the Lassie character, played by the wonderful Timothy O. Munson, our boy, Timothy O. Munson, he was busy doing Gallivant, so they had to make him a cameo in the first movie. So this was, I think this was a far better attempt than the first movie, honestly, for the Psych. It's a standalone, so you don't need to know the first movie at all. You just come into this just knowing the show. But again,
So is this essentially a Timothy O. Munson vehicle then?
Munson has a more pivotal role in this. So
Okay.
that's the thing. I mean, let me put it this way. First movie is just the cameo of Munson, which is disappointing. And of course,
Right.
Munson, he's not the star of the show, but he's a great supporting element of the show. He's wonderful.
Sure.
But this thing, so this says more on Munson, and what I like that he's not quite in the saddle. He's a big pivotal part of the plot, though, because he's in a hospital bed for the movie, and he's conscious. Don't get me wrong, he's alive and everything. It's just that we put him in a hospital, and we give him kind of he brings the heart to the piece. He's really good acting, not just like he's funny, but he's not doing his usual funny stuff from Psych. He's really bringing the heart to the piece, which is some great acting. He's kind of hallucinating his father throughout the piece, and he has some really good scenes.
Gotcha.
And that's the thing. So it's great to see him, come back. And you also had, again, the big reason I recommend this thing to any Psych fans out there is that, again, you don't need to see the first movie. If you know the show and you like the show, you're gonna love this. This is like a reunion piece. You bring back James Roday, or as he's going by now, James Roday Rodriguez, and Dule Hill. And my God, their chemistry is back with a vengeance, buddy. I mean, these two guys, they're like the bromance for the ages. These two guys, they complete each other, and they were a lot of fun, kind of being reunited yet again. I'll admit, story's still not lighting the world on fire for these movies. They just haven't cracked the code story-wise. But again, as a reunion, just kind of watching it scene to scene, basically just like, hey, more Psych, and it's come back. It's like it's a return to the fun that the show was, just seeing, I guess, taking it scene to scene. It's got a nice theme of fatherhood, though. I'll give it that. There's a nice theme of fatherhood with the Lassie story, with him hallucinating his father, and kind of like there's a plot thing with the father angle. Self-internalization, that's also kind of a big part of it. Without sacrificing the comedy, it's not just like slowing down. We need to be serious and dramatic. Like, no, it's still funny. It's all get out. That's what I'm saying. It was fun. It was fun. Not a whole lot of substance, but it was fun and good. More importantly, good to see Timothy Munson.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, finally we reach catch up. Okay, so Athlete A. I've heard about this one, Dragon.
Really?
I've heard of it. I've heard the title. I don't know much about it.
Yeah, so this is a Netflix documentary film. It's kind of I think they're going for like Spotlight meets Bikram with gymnastics. Basically the girls being taken advantage by their trainers and their doctors. That whole thing.
Okay.
So this was I was taken in by the trailer, which looked good, as I tend to be, especially with the documentary stuff. Honestly, this is okay. It picks up. Importantly, though, it's not just okay. It's okay. It picks up traction as it goes on. But let's be honest, it's no Bikram. That's what I could say. It's no Bikram.
No Bikram.
Seriously, I mean, this is kind of like Bikram. Bikram had I would still go back to Bikram, because Bikram had that great like gobsmacking moment of like, remember that thing I told you in Act 1? Maybe it's not true. That
right.
Like,
yeah.
That's why I keep going to a Bikram. That's what I had that really hooked me. This does not. It kind of has something like that, but not to that effect, not to that length, not to that big hooking point of view. This is basically it raises a moral it raises some interesting moral questions as it goes forward with kind of the white whale of the piece, kind of the big bad guy, if you will, Dr. Larry Nazar, one of the doctors to the athletes. We use some interrogation footage, and we use when we get to know this guy, they use footage and they kind of get perspectives about the guy. And basically, the terrifying thing is this guy seemed really likable. He seemed like a kind of a likable doctor, and he was basically like they would ask him about these questions about all this terrible stuff that he's done. He would act really shocked about it. And basically, as it would go forward, it's like knowing the charges and the allegations against this guy, who just on the surface seems like so kind of like non-threatening, and that's the terrifying thing it kind of catches you with as you're watching. Oh God, you the audience may or may not be kind of taken in by it for a moment. Like, he doesn't seem like he's the guy. I mean, I'm believing what I'm hearing, but it feels so wrong, which is the point. And it kind of builds to this moment of like one of the reporters, and they get the spotlight on them, that basically the press, they ran with this story and they kind of exposed it. That's kind of how it went. Mm-hmm. Where it's like, do I ruin a man's life? Or he basically, Nazar's like begging him, like, hey, don't ruin my life. I have wife and kids. Where it's like, well, does he have it coming though? That's the thing. Like, yeah, he kind of has it coming, but there's a man begging for his life. So it's interesting moments like that, but I think it comes a little too late in the piece, and maybe it warrants a rewatch. But it's kind of really dark stuff, so I don't know if I go back to it. It's noble what they're doing with this thing and raising the awareness and everything. They're trying to shake off the systemic flaws of the institutions at play. It's kind of what these documentaries are doing, and kind of the kind of framework of this. But it just still lacks the oomph in front that you kind of want with the piece to really give it the stay power,
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay, so I checked out the new 2019 science fiction thriller starring Jesse Eisenberg and Imogen Poots, a wonderful couple from The Art of Self-Defense, one of my favorite movies of last year, Vivarium. And this was not as good as The Art of Self-Defense, unfortunately.
Really? Oh man,
um,
this seems so up your alley. What happened?
well, it's one of those situations where I this is one of those like art house science fiction movies that kind of like wears its message on its sleeve. And so in this case, the message is like, hey, if you get locked into a suburban marriage in a suburban neighborhood, it's just going to feel like you're just trapped there. And Dragon, this couple like moves into the suburban house and they can't leave and they're trapped there. And then there's this what kills the movie Dragon is there's this kid
Oh,
with
the kid killed it?
yeah. Oh man.
Oh,
Oh, the kid just I Dragon, I admire what they were trying to do with the kid, but it just he really there were a lot of this is the worst thing that I watched in the month, and I didn't watch much, so
well, that's probably why.
right. I mean, look, Eisenberg and Poots do have a good performance. I just think the writing is all the fuck over the place with this thing. I mean, this is the kind of sci-fi movie where it really could have used like another draft or two. I mean, it just feels like they're just kind of like vomiting ideas.
I see.
Um, Definitely not a lighthouse or anything like that. It's definitely like whereas the lighthouse was like very intricately crafted to say something. Just this just kind of feels like this just kind of feels like it's repeating the same sort of 3 points about domestic living over and over and over again and kind of beating you in the head with them. So yeah, not great.
Okay. All right, let's see. So I have next. I have Gemini Man. So this is a movie that came out last year, I believe.
Gotcha. Yeah. The Will Smith versus Will Smith movie.
Yes, this is Ang Lee's kind of sci-fi action thriller movie with.
It's so
with the two
sad
Will
how
Smiths.
far Ang Lee's career has fallen off track.
You know, you say that. I gotta tell you though, I was pleasantly surprised by this one.
Or yeah, okay.
I was. It's not Yates. Let me be clear there. It's not Yates, but it was. It was quite. It was entertaining. It's just like a perfect. I mean, for you, I guess I could sell you to it. I could sell it to you as like a turn your brain off sort of thing. This is a good action movie, but again, it's not like it's not like a dark room. Like it's all bright outside. You don't have to worry about any glare or anything. For this one, this one's pretty straightforward. This one's basically the story very simple. It's you have a retired kind of sniper assassin for the DIA, the defense agency. I gotta admit, it's a little Deadshot-esque, but he's not playing the Deadshot character. He's just playing kind of like a kind of a more government hired version of Floyd Lawton, if you will. He's basically he asks a question about his last job because he's retiring because he's morally responsible because he's like, well, I mean, if my shot was off, if it's off, I'm going to hurt someone innocent, which I don't want to do, so I absolutely have to retire. So he's a good guy.
He
Will
has
Smith
to
playing
throw
a good.
away his shot.
Sure. Anyway, so point being, he asked a question about his last job, which kind of leads to kind of this conspiracy angle where he asked the wrong question. Now they're trying to tie up a loose end by taking him out. And he's targeted by the younger clone of himself, which you know by the marketing, because that's the only way they sold this movie. Gemini Man, get it? Because it's two of them.
Right.
But basically, it's kind of it's a little winter. They're going for a little Winter Soldier kind of thing with it, which I kind of appreciated. Again, heck no, is it a Winter Soldier? But I'm saying they're kind of following the shadow of Winter Soldier, which I didn't mind because again, you're pulling from good stock. I don't mind that. So it's as basically, it delivered more than it delivered more than I thought it would. I came with low expectations. Like, oh man, I'm having quite a good time with this. I'm surprising. I mean, comparatively, I think it's in the recent years, it's Ang Lee's probably his best. I know it's not saying much compared to what else he's done, but it's it's a valiant effort by valiant direction by Ang Lee of late. I think it was quite an improvement. So the first time I've liked an Ang Lee movie in a long while. I'll put it to you that way.
All right.
It's kind of like these three action set pieces with the younger Will Smith going up against himself. So that's again to keep it simple with the action there. You have some Clive Owen, man. Clive, how long has it been since you've heard the name Clive Owen, Tiki?
I think he's probably popped up in something pretty recently, but I digress.
Well, the point being, Clive Owen's in this. They gave him a solid role, man. He's got a solid role. Oh, well, your girl's in it too. Mary Elizabeth Winstead's in it. She's the co-star.
All right, nice.
Yeah, she kind of play. She and Benedict Wong are on kind of Will Smith's team. They kind of help him out in the movies. That's kind of nice. Point being, you have good players in it. It's got action, but also raises some really interesting questions, like about like kind of the value of like in the sci-fi kind of question, like if we could send in clone soldiers, we could build new life to kind of send into the situation instead of like putting real soldiers in danger in battle. Wouldn't that be great? But again, obviously there's a cost here. Like you're sending the younger versions of soldiers into battle, and how heady is that? You're creating like the same guy though, man. The point being, again, some really nice ethical kind of stuff like that. And yeah, it's nice and straightforward. It's a cool movie. Just it actually delivered on what the trailer was. It was actually pretty good.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I watched the Hulu original documentary "Becoming Bond," the true story of George Lazenby, as told by George Lazenby, and as interpreted by Australian Jimmy McGill. Yes, you're absolutely right about that.
Right?
Absolutely. No
crazy,
question.
Right? He looked just like him.
Dragon, this was okay. Frankly, it wasn't as much about Bond as I was wanting it to be. It's an interesting portrait on the guy's life for sure. I think there's a little bit too much build up to Bond, and I was more excited to get to like the whole, the fallout and everything. And I feel like that really only comes in the last, like, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes or so. That kind of disappointed me because I thought the whole movie was going to be kind of the fallout. But, in that regard, I mean, it's a well-told story, and George Lazenby definitely makes for a good interview, and the reenactments are well done for sure. I'm not jumping up and down about it. It's not something I go back to anytime soon, but it was a good time.
Yeah.
All right, Chuck Jones, Extremes and In-Betweens. Where do you find this?
This is on YouTube.
YouTube, okay. When in doubt,
find it on YouTube. If I'm a betting man, you can probably find like a DVD set of the Looney Tunes, but it's on YouTube. So
right.
So yeah, so this Chuck, so he's Extremes and In-Betweens, and I guess the full title is like A Life in Animation as well. As tack that on at the end of that. So yeah, this is so I use this as a refresher for the Looney Tune debates, just kind of getting back in the swing of things. This Tika, this was so informative, man. You're gonna walk out of this thing a huge Chuck Jones fans. I know you probably are already, but you're gonna be
I was gonna say, like, who says I'm not a Chuck Jones fan?
That's what I know what I mean. I'm just saying if you're thinking back to Looney Tunes, you're basically this thing was like a great kind of like kind of reteaching that. This thing's not just biographical. I mean, it is a little bit, but it's like it's tied into his work, and we use gobs and gobs of footage within the work as well, so to kind of demonstrate and illustrate certain things from the man's life. But this is like it really gets into why Chuck Jones was the best animator and kind of like the greatest creative force on the Looney Tunes. Like the man, it makes the point. We learned so much about the man because one, he was responsible for essentially all the iconic Looney Tunes moments you remember, like Rabbit Season, the whole Rabbit Seasoning, the whole Rabbit Season, Duck Season. Well, that's him. Duck Dodgers, that's him. Michigan J. Frog, that's him. What's Opera Doc, that's him. It's like, I could go on. You see my point. Like Chuck Jones was the man. I mean, I know people throw around Bob Clamp, but if you look at Bob Clampett's the guy who did the old school Bugs Bunny, which again they're kind of going with now new HBO thing. I understand, but it's like it doesn't hold a candle what Chuck Jones did, in my opinion. This documentary is just it relishes in it. Like the main point that it makes, again with the title, is that he wasn't just about extreme reactions. Like when you think Looney Tunes and you think cartoons, you're thinking a little bit more like Tex Avery. Tex Avery's like the wolf, like the whole the wolf sees the pretty girl, the guys bug out. That wasn't Chuck Jones. Chuck Jones was about the subtlety and timing of animation. That was Chuck Jones. And you have all sorts of celebrity in this thing. Great interview, like great people chime in, like Joe Dante, Leonard Maltin. The Malt, man.
Oh, God.
Leonard Maltin, to quote Tim Curry. Eric Goldberg, John Lasseter. We have the old school John Lasseter and Glenn Keane, Spielberg, like the whole menagerie, man. Like great people.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's kind of you realize that he was the go-tos for all the greats. They coined the perfect name for him, the elder statesman of animation. That's absolutely what he was. He was the guy. He is on the Mount Rushmore of animation. I highly recommend it to you if you enjoy animation or if you're a big fan of Looney Tunes, which I know you're both. So that's yeah,
All right, cool.
yeah, good stuff.
Great. Charlie Wilson's War. This is I like this movie quite a bit. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I really liked it. I was meaning to get to this because
This is the movie where I discovered Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Really, this was the one.
This was the one. Yep.
Nice.
Yep. And I kind of went back and retroactively watched everything he was in after this. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been meaning to get to this because, of course, big Tom Hanks fan, and I've always I've heard about this thing, and it was kind of available on Hulu, so I checked it out. And also in the month of July, hey, 4th of July, patriotism, let's get it in there,
Mm-hmm.
So of course, it's long and short as folks, just for the folks out there, of course, kind of a biopic on this kind of Playboy congressman in the 80s. It was Charlie Wilson. And he kind of gets thrown into the this eye-opening conflict of the Afghanistan's going up against the Soviets back in the 80s, kind of during the Reagan era of it all. And it's Tom Hanks doing a very what kind of strikes me about the piece is that it's a very Tom Hanks doing a very Tony Stark-esque performance from kind of if you're going to use like a Marvel comparison, Tom Hanks traditionally kind of the Captain America of it all. He's sort of like the Steve Rogers of America, as it were. It turns like the Americana actor.
Uh-huh.
And it's so kind of fun to see him in kind of this really kind of sure of himself, just really because this kind of this bon vivant Tom Hanks performance. It's quite fun to see him to be this really charismatic kind of a wine and diner in Capitol Hill. And it's he's again he's amazing as always, and of course his opposite Philip Seymour Hoffman, he's fantastic as Gust, and again they really play so well off of each other, just kind of sizing each other up and how
I just love Philip Seymour Hoffman's outbursts in this movie.
My favorite gag with Philip Seymour Hoffman, I love Tom Hanks' character. He kind of has all these women kind of working for him in his office, which I love as he's surrounded by strong women, which is really cool. And the idea that they give him this bad news, and Gust has to keep leaving the room. And of course, he can hear through the walls anyway, but he has to keep leaving the room. I thought that was so funny.
Right.
His outbursts are great as well. Yes. But yeah, I love this idea. It's very Bridge of Spies-esque when you really look back on it, don't you think? Where he's have this charmer trying to negotiate between this Bridge of Spies style kind of like we need to get arms to the Afghanistans, to Afghanistan.
Like a more lighthearted version of Bridge of Spies.
Yes, and I think the most compelling element of the movie for me is that you have this character who's he's just trying to help the little guy in a conflict. And I love going into this movie. I mean, even then you would have had this, but especially now, you go into it knowing, where we were at now. And basically, you just have this character who's just trying to do the right thing in the best way that he can. You're just trying to help out the little guy in a conflict using what was then, America's superpower, for good, using the American superpower status for good. Like, okay, we have the means, let's help out the little guy against our then enemy of the 80s, the Russians, the Soviets. Mm. Which, of course, ultimately, we, the audience, know there's this cosmic, realization that you make. The film is also aware of with the framing device, with the medal ceremony. Mm-hmm. That our guy, we know years later all this is going to come back to bite us in the butt, and it's going to be really sad. But again, we're kind of gilding the lily on that in a really fun way. So I love the theme is like short term versus the long term, in parable to a playboy with a heart of gold, just trying to do the right thing. Where he doesn't know like the implications that are going to come a few decades later. So really, really interesting stuff. I had a great time with the movie. I really liked it. It was a good watch.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, next up,
12 Gifts of Christmas. So,
take the reins, buddy.
Not a lot here. This was, it's not July without Christmas in July on Hallmark, am I right?
Sure.
Yeah, so I watched this because the actress who was in it, Katrina Law. I've met her. I met her at the Comic-Con last year, and she's very nice. She was Nisa Al Ghul on the CW Arrow show. Really nice. Basically, with Talia al Ghul, kind of playing Talia al Ghul, but under a different name. Uh, she's kind of part of a running gag. She's like the middle sister of Elektra and Wonder Woman, are kind of her stupid running gag. She was the middle child. Anyway, the point being, she in this movie, she's so darn pleasant in this. She just kind of plays like a flowering artist who is kind of like a gift giving ninja. So she kind of avails her services as a personal shopper for the holidays to kind of this corporate bigwig guy who doesn't have the time to shop for his loved ones or his employees. It's just about as hallmarky as it gets. I have no illusions. It's as hallmarky as it gets, but it's got charm for days. She runs into this businessman slash her romantic counterpart for the film. She kind of they fall for each other through the course of the movie at a really awesome bakery, like a schoolbread bakery, man.
Oh God! All right.
Friendly as all get out, this bakery. And it basically the idea she has better ideas for. She's tasked with doing his Christmas shopping, which is basically has like 13 days left to get 12 gifts for 12 names on a list. Basically she has better ideas than just like get them like corporate. Just give them something expensive. Like, like you got to give them a personal touch. That's a sell. It's a bit. There's a bit of a forced thing in the third act. Again, hallmarky, no illusions. Stuff happens, but the whole point of the movie is it's about embracing ideas, about the personal touch that goes into gift giving, showing kindness towards strangers around the holidays. Which all nice things. It's pleasant. It's again, I myself I like putting thought into the gifts around the holidays, so it kind of reached me on that level. So I had a nice time with it. It's a quaint film.
All right. Okay, Dragon. I'm sorry. I'm kind of losing steam here. It's not your fault. So let's see. Let's move on to Dog Day Afternoon. Dragon, believe it or not, this is kind of like a seminal movie for me. You know why?
Really? Why?
Because I believe this is the first movie that I watched that was like a dramatic movie told in a 24-hour time frame.
Really?
And yeah, and that kind of made an impact on me. Like it's been forever since I've seen this thing. I barely even remember a lot of the beats about it, but I just remember being really impacted by the fact that like, oh my God, this movie, like a movie can just tell a day in the life of something. And it kind of opened my eyes to the storytelling potential of just doing a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and how much you can fit into a day.
Yeah, I had never watched this start to finish. I saw a few scenes from it, and I was inspired by the documentary I watched a couple memoirs back called "By Sidney Lumet," and they kind of talked about this movie. And plus, it was on a Pacino kick with last month, and also Hunters. So I've been on a Pacino kick lately. So why not? So basically, this is basically this is like very historic. This is about kind of one of the first bank robberies turned hostage crisis. This is like the first multiple hostage crisis situation in history. I believe that's the big claim to fame about the real life event this is based on. Like before, isn't like one guy holding one hostage, like a whole bank full of hostages. So basically, two guys, they have the kind of a concept of a robbery. Basically, okay, we go in and we go out, we block out the cameras, we take the money. Piece of cake, right? Nothing goes right. We take a 10-minute robbery that then takes 12 hours, and the situation gets progressively worse and drawn out for them. It's, we have your sympathetic bank robber, Sidney Lumet. He likes to do like kind of the moral complications here, like kind of get into the moral quandaries of it all here, where we have Pacino and John Cazale, basically Fredo from The Godfather, Michael Corleone and Fredo are teamed up yet again, going up against Charles Durning. My God, Charles Durning is great in this movie as the sergeant. Love him in this. Matthew Broderick Father's in this too. He plays the FBI agent. So yeah, basically, what's really fascinating about this, Lumet, he interpreted this. He basically, the way he wanted to do this was do it as documentary-like as possible. He didn't want to interview the people at hand. He didn't want to interview the guy that Pacino plays. He basically made it look as documentary-like as possible,
like
using
fly
just
on the wall, essentially.
Yes, fly on the wall, like basically what the public saw on the TV and everything. That's all they knew. So that's what he's operating with, which sounds really challenging, doesn't it? And
but I love the challenge of it. It's almost like I love how he kind of set those limitations on himself. And as we know, constantly with filmmaking, sometimes the best films are the ones with those sorts of limitations held on them.
Let me hit you with a really cool limitation in this movie. No music at all. There's
Yeah,
no score in this
totally,
movie,
totally,
right? Yeah. Like the one
And
song on the radio.
because you're so caught up in it.
I know. I didn't realize until like the rewatch. Like, oh my god, it's so yeah. It's so yeah. Also, I found this out too. The whole reason Pacino even got cast because there was an article written where they described the guy looking like Pacino. And that's why again, even real life dictated the casting for the movie. It's amazing. So yeah, it's a little Albuquerque verse-esque too when you go into this movie because it's basically all the details. Like I love like in the third act where he's looking through the limousine and everything. Like Mike Ehrmantraut will like inspect the thing before they go and he kind of snuffs out something ain't right here. Stuff like that. So there's a big bold turn in Act 2 with the reveal of why this is happening in the first place. In classic Lumet, he goes for it, man. He legitimizes it 100%. We're thinking, I didn't expect to go that. He's stealing the money for what? For an operate, for a change operate? Like what? It's like, but no, he makes it. He works it, man. I mean, Al Pacino. He gives such a compelling performance in this.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
good. And that the will scene, I could go on. The point being, fun, excellent movie about the moral complexities. And basically, there's like the no go. This to me is more of a palatable, like the tension is palatable throughout the movie than some other movies you've recommended to me. I won't name names, but you know what they are. But I'm saying, I think it's. I was just thinking, it's like the tension really mounts here. In Okay.
Okay, and finally, the grand finale, Dragon. The one that you've been waiting for. Mr. Saint Nick.
Yes, yet another Hallmark.
Oh my god, I cannot contain the epic.
Do you know anything about this one?
No.
Oh, my friend, you're going to be in for a treat.
Oh god, okay.
This is a crazy one. So, Mr. Saint Nick, this is a Hallmark movie. I know, big shocker. Again, Christmas in July. This movie stars the Kells, which is a big reason I checked it out. For, of course, we did Christmas in July. Our big finale was Frasier. And sure. Kelsey Grammer, he plays the son of Santa Claus in this movie. This came out in 2002.
Oh, dear.
That's right,
I
folks.
think I do vaguely remember this. I never saw it, but I vaguely remember it being advertised.
It's an early 2000s TV Christmas movie, folks. We're going there. So the other thing, the connective tissue, the reason it is where it is in this ranking here, in this listing, Charles Durning is also in this. Again, Charles Durning from Dog Day. He plays the father. He plays the other Santa Claus.
Well, there you go. What do you know?
So basically, he's the old school Santa Claus trying to pass the mantle on to his son, Nick St. Nicholas. So again, he's like the 20th in line, where Nick St. Nicholas is the 21st in line because he's a modern thinker. This Nick St. Nicholas trying to bring into the modern age. Get it? 21st century. Okay, well,
yeah.
Anyway, I think they went to Grammer here because there's definitely a Frasier kind of father-son story within the piece, and I think they like he's kind of yelling at his father here. They're disagreeing. They're having a bit of a time there. It's a clever take on the Santa Claus lore. I want to highlight that. It's a Santa Claus who he wants to approach things differently. He wants to ditch the accoutrements, like no big belly, no beard. He doesn't want to do that as Santa Claus. He's living in Miami. He's a bon vivant kind of bachelor playboy in Miami. He's very generous though. That's what I love with the Kells. He's very generous. He does care. He just wants to help both the adults and the children. Help the homeless, that sort of thing. He wants to help everybody. But again, his father's like, "Oh, this is all crazy talk. You got to put the gifts under the tree for the kids." Like, what are you talking about? Good stuff there. We have a nice kind of like the elf assistant in Jasper. I love basically the film. He brings in this cook that kind of changes his life, named Lorena. Is kind of this Puerto Rican cook. He's a really great character. They'd have some nice development, some nice chemistry, a la Hallmark. Bit of a forced love triangle, I'll admit. And there's a literal .com scheme, SaintNick.com. There's a .com scheme in the movie, and it's quite silly and fun.
All right.
It's little dated, little cheesy, but the heart is absolutely in the right place. Grammar is always fantastic, and puts you in the seasonal mood for sure. I had a good time with it. Not Yates, but good time.
All right, and let's finally end things out with best and worst.
What do you got?
Best Palm Springs Worst, I mean, it's not terrible. It really isn't, but Vivarium is definitely disappointing.
Gotcha.
But I want to
Uh,
emphasize Palm Springs is like underlined best, man. Like that's the most empathetic best that you're gonna get out of me this year so far.
right. Okay, best for me. It's tricky because we're just lumping it all together here. Part of me is tempted for Palm Springs, but I gotta remember I did watch some classics here, so that complicates things because I kind of have I'm kind of between Charlie Wilson's War and Dog Day Afternoon.
Yeah,
I
I
think
understand with Dog Day Afternoon, yeah.
yeah, that's the thing. I kind of want to say Dog Day Afternoon, but I mean, point being between those two, I'm leaning a little bit more towards Dog Day, but Charlie Wilson's War is really good. So the point being, those are my best category. Worst category, again, not that it's terrible, just by process of elimination here. Athlete A.
Right, right.
Again, it's just
Okay.
kind of forgettable. I mean, Mr. Saint Nick has the Kells of Santa Claus in it, man. You can't beat that.
Okay.
I know it's
Oh
cheesy,
boy.
but it's fun. Let's ditch the thing. Okay.
All right. And Dragon, anything coming up that you're actually looking forward to?
Oh yeah, a lot of TV stuff I got coming up in August. There's Lucifer. There's Infinity Train Book 3.
All right, right, for sure.
That sort of stuff. Again, the Wizards, the ending to the whole Troll Hunters Del Toro saga. In terms of movies, we have Phineas and Ferb coming out.
Right.
I think that I don't know if that Glenn Keane movie comes out this month or not.
Of course, this isn't a new 2020 movie, but I am very much looking forward to Howard, the documentary about Howard Ashman.
As well, it's definitely going to make her catch up for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Dinosaurs is coming out next month. Otherwise, I would have binged it because I hear it's not
I
going
don't
to. They
think
haven't
so.
announced it. Yeah, it bums me out. But the point being, there's going to be some stuff. There's stuff I'm not
Dragon,
thinking.
I have news on a show coming to Netflix that I think might perk your interest. I have 5 words for you, all right?
Okay.
Sarah Paulson is Nurse Ratched.
As in she's literally playing Nurse Ratched. Or
Yes.
Like
As in the series is called Nurse Ratched.
Oh my god.
Right? Isn't that kind of exciting?
That's interesting, man. That's
I'm saying it has the potential to be another Bates Motel. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw it.
Oh god. So you mean as in it's not just going to be like her? It's going to be like how she got there and stuff, right? It's going to be like how she became Nurse Ratched.
I have no idea what it's about. All I'm seeing is like Sarah Paulson is Nurse Ratched.
That could be good. I mean, Sarah Paulson she's a great actress. She's been in some crappy movies lately, but she's a great actress.
All right. So is that about it, Dragon? Shall we wrap this up?
Yeah, let's ditch the little thing. And yeah.
Oh, right. Okay, 1 second. Okay.
All right.
If I have to go back and lock that in, I will.
Okay.
All right. Well, folks, we've waxed on long enough. It's time to put the pen down. Until next time, when we return for another fitting chapter in our movie memoirs.